So if you didn't hear us there for a second, it might have been a little audio thing on YouTube, but happy to be here with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I thank you so much for tuning in. And inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', we're going to spend hour number one with Bobby Acosta here with us, the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff's offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for their FCS Division I AA squad. And we'll be talking about sports and life. Bobby's going to be speaking with me about this piece of his journey, as well as his journey as a coach in general, adversity, growing through that, the world of collegiate athletics right now, and how that affects student athletes. And we'll have some fun with rapid fire as we always do. So happy to have Bobby here in hour number one. And in hour number two, Papa Joe will be joining us as he always does on a Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be speaking on the 2023 Major League Baseball awards that have been given out already, as well as college football. We'll see how our picks did in Week 11, and we'll make our picks for Week 12. Hard to believe we're already here in Week 12, just a couple weeks from seeing championships being played in respective conferences and getting ready for the college football playoff and bowl games. And then we'll jump into the NFL, see how our picks did in Week 10, make our Week 11 picks, and speak on those Jacksonville Jaguars as PJ joins us from North Florida. So with all that being said, let's jump to hour number one here. Picture in picture with me, Mr. Bobby Acosta. Bobby, how are you?
I'm doing okay. You're my first action since I had my situation with my eye. So I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, and Bobby, I know we were talking about it off the air, but to navigate through something like that, right? Because it's the bigger picture and the bigger conversation of there's things in life we can't control. And this was one of those things that, you can't control. It happened. And how did you handle it? How did you go through it? Because I think it's really important to have that conversation about the things that we can't control and how to navigate through that.
Yeah, I think, you kind of look at the season we're having. We're having a tough season. And, I'm calling a football game against Jackson State, and my right eye goes blind. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I take off my contact, and I'm like, hopefully it comes back. I'll wake up in the morning and be all good. And it just gets worse. And Monday morning, I said to my head coach, hey, I need to go see a doctor because I can't see out of my right eye. And the next minute, I'm calling him saying I have to, get rushed to the emergency room because I have a detached retina. And I had no idea how it happened. It just went blank. So, I go through the surgery. So I asked the doctor when I wake up, all right, I got a game this weekend. I'm good to go. He's like, ooh, no. It's about 2 or 3 week recovery. So this is my first time in my career that I'm sitting out watching our team play with our young coaches calling the offense. But I'm getting a lot of enjoyment watching the process, because when you coach, when you're an offensive coordinator, you actually coach your coaches.
Yeah.
And we have a young man, Steve Wallace, his first full-time job. He's actually in command of the offense right now, and he's doing a really good job. And I watch the practices at night on internet, and I'm proud to see that he's growing as a coach. So, it's hard, but it puts the whole season in perspective. It's not that bad. We're going through this. God put us in this position because we have to grow in some way. I think he was telling me, Bobby, you need to sit back and relax a little bit because, I'm that energy bug.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing. I've been relaxing. I've been catching up with life. I've been talking to my kids a lot, catching up with friends, and catching up with you.
So when you've had this time, like you said, to kind of step away and to take some time for yourself, what have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about your life? What is it? How is Bobby a better man today because of all this?
Well, the first thing I wanted to do was reflect on what we were doing this year as a staff. And, the last time we were having this talk, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, is I just won a national championship.
Yeah.
And, then I went to Texas. So, the biggest thing I found out was what worked at one stop may not work at another stop. I kind of reflected on my coaching, on my teaching. And as I grow older, my patience is getting less. And so I kind of reflected on that, saying, man, I was at my best when enthusiasm was the best tool I used for teaching.
Yeah.
And so I want to get back to that. But the biggest thing I did was really connect with my kids. They're still in New Jersey. My daughter is going to be over 6 feet tall. She's 10 years old, and my son is loving playing soccer right now. So I had a chance to watch him on FaceTime, watch him in action, and because as a coach, you lose that time. And, you're taking care of other people's kids, and you're trying to, make them into a 5-star character young man.
Yeah.
So you lose the time with your own kids. So it's been enjoyable. It's been enjoyable, really, sitting back, watching our team grow, watching myself grow here. But I'm ready to get back to work soon.
And like you said, I mean, you get to spend more time. You get to talk with your kids more. There's this balance as a coach that you have. A lot of coaches have their own families, like yourself. You have your kids, and at the same time, you're raising other people's kids, and sometimes you're the big brother, you're the uncle, you're the dad. In a lot of cases, you might be the only father figure. How have you learned through this adversity of having to be out when your retina gets torn and you have to take a step back? How have you learned to balance better the fact that you have to be a dad to your kids and help the kids on the football team, as well as helping the kids on the football team and not forgetting you're a dad? How have you learned to balance better?
I think the balance needs to come from, and there's a lot of coaches that go through this. They put their health in the back seat because the pressure of winning, the pressure of finding balance.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing now is putting my health in front of everything. And, I think if you're not healthy, you can't be there for your own kids, your own family, and you're not going to be healthy to coach a 11-game season. So, I think diets, I think sleep. As a coach, you always brag about, hey, I don't sleep because I'm trying to out-prepare that other staff.
Yeah.
To be honest, rest is a part of the preparation, and I think I'm going to do this is a reset for me. I'm 47 years old. I think I have about another 15 years left in coaching. This is a reset for me to really put my health, put my spirit, put my family in front, and everything else will follow. The football is going to be okay when you're healthy mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And that's what I have to do, because I found myself a little on edge this year, and that's not me. So I can't wait to get back in the office on Monday. I actually tried to go back to the office on Saturday because we played last Friday, and I actually, I tore some cartilage, or not cartilage, some scar tissue in my eye. So the doctor was just like, nope, you're staying home another week. So, but it's a reset for me, and I'm gonna be better in my second way around with this.
Here with Bobby Acosta this morning, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. You said it's a reset for you, right? And I've talked about before, when I went through some stuff that was totally different, but still adversity, and very honest on the show and very open on the show, because that's what I feel like we have to be. I want to say I thought about hitting my reset button, and then God said to me, are you going to hit it? And I didn't hit it. So he hit it. And my reset button came from going through a divorce. I was in a relationship that wasn't positive. It wasn't good. It wasn't fruitful. It wasn't healthy. Her family wasn't healthy. And there was a moment where I stood in the hall. I'll never forget this. I stood in the hallway upstairs in my house, and I felt him say, are you going to do it? And I sat there, and he went, all right, then I'm going to do it. And he hit it. He's like, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And he hit that button. And that reset button gave me an opportunity, albeit different circumstances than yours, gave me an opportunity to say, what are you going to do now? Are you going to be healthy now? Are you going to take care of your mental health now? Your emotional health, your physical health? How are you going to sleep? Are you going to feel guilty about chasing your dreams? There was all of these things that came into question. And when you're speaking on this and you say reset button, hit that reset, I feel like you've had that. I've had that. The world had an opportunity at it during COVID. I think that was God's major reset button of saying, I didn't give you this thing, but I'm going to use it to try and help you figure life out. And some of us came out of the thing caring more, loving more, wanting to be together more. Some of us came out of it angry. Some of us came out of it unchanged. And so the bigger picture of the reset button, Bobby, I think is a great thing that you brought up, that I have felt in my life and that this world should have felt, that when God gives you an opportunity to restart, are we going to take it?
Wow. Yeah. And you don't think about it. We have a lot of opportunities for a reset, and sometimes we turn our back to it because, our ego, our stubbornness. Because my first reset since our relationship has started was when we got let go at Syracuse. My dream job, working with Scott Schaefer, George McDonald, and putting a great class together. And the next thing we get a reset, saying, hey, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you said, God would do it. I think, and that's exactly what happened with me here. Like I was part unhealthy inside and spiritually and emotionally, because, as a coach, you're so focused on the winning, but you forget about the process.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to go through the adversity and build that scar tissue so you can start to turn your program, turn the young man, turn your life around. So, yeah, I think we have to embrace the resets because we're human. We're human. We're going to make mistakes, but we need to grow from it.
Yeah, and you had talked about it, Bobby. You brought it up, and you've said this to me many times, and it makes me happy to hear every time, and it breaks my heart every time. And not your fault that it breaks my heart. It's others that maybe didn't see it. Is that you said that, Syracuse was your dream job. And coming here was your dream job. And your connection to the state of New Jersey and your connection to that pipeline and that desire to keep New York in New York, to bring New Jersey and get that in New York and keep that bridge going and to take care of the Northeast. It's something that we see the Greg Schianos of the world do, and we look at how successful Rutgers is and how unsuccessful Syracuse has been. And because of a detachment of New York, a detachment of New Jersey, there's some, but you had that passion, you had that drive, and it seemed like things were getting going, working in the right direction. And then it was so short-lived when Schaefer was let go, and normally when a coach gets let go, the entire staff gets let go with that coach. Going back to that moment, what were you doing? What roads were being created? What bridge was being built in New Jersey? Because I feel like it was such a missed opportunity and a lost opportunity for Syracuse to have that passion, to have that drive. What could have been, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, the first thing you look at the staff. They're all successful right now. Yeah. Clark Lee is the head coach of Vanderbilt. If you look at Lester's in the league, Joe Adams is successful. Scott Schaefer is successful. George McDonald, I think that's a person that we forget to talk about. But my relationship with him, I'm his son's godfather now. We talk almost every day. And, DeAndre Smith, he's in the league. And but the biggest thing was, I had a passion because I grew up watching Syracuse basketball.
Yeah.
And you saw the pipeline with the football team in New Jersey, New York. I'm from Queens, New York, so there was a passion of the recruitment that I had relationships. And the relationships are the reason why, people send their kids to certain schools. And, I think I brought in almost like 14 kids myself that year. And, with the Strickland, Pickard, all those kids that had an impact later. And, that's the biggest thing I think, we miss there is that Northeast football, because it's some talent there. And you watching Greg Schiano come back, he's successful. James Franklin, I actually have a very, very good relationship with him still. I spoke with him last week. He's successful. So, I was building that bridge back to Syracuse because it's hard to play in the ACC and to recruit against Florida State and teams like that. You have to do a really good job in the Northeast. And people at the time, it was an open door. Coach Schaefer did a great job inviting the recruits to visit Syracuse. But we had a brand, and we still have a brand in New York, and New Jersey. And we have a lot of alumni that live in New York and New Jersey. We played Notre Dame in MetLife Stadium. It was packed. So, you never know down the road. They may see it as an opportunity they have to get back to in the future. But, the process of recruiting right now is so competitive. You really have to find people with ties in that region to be successful, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I do. I mean, when I think about you amongst a lot of things, and appreciating our relationship and our bond, whenever I think about Fred Reed, I think about all of you. And each of those things that kind of bring me back, when it comes to you, it's New Jersey. It's seeing you smile, standing in the football wing, walking out, and me thinking to myself, if we had him recruiting right now, what would this look like? And it's moments like that where you wonder, right? Because it is such a sad thing to see that, Syracuse is my hometown, and Northeast football is alive and well in some places, and in other places it's dying. And not dying because it's not Northeast football, dying because it's not. And I miss that. I miss that connection. I miss that, bringing these kids that are 1 stars, no stars, 2 stars, kids that have barely been looked at, those diamonds in the rough. So when you look at being a coach and you look at being an OC and a quarterback's coach, when you're out recruiting, Bobby, right now in this moment, did they give you a region in Arkansas, Pine Bluff? We talk about your connection that you would have with the Northeast and the connection you still have. Do you reach to that now? Do you have new inroads in Arkansas and in Georgia and Louisiana and Texas and whatnot? I mean, you coached in Florida, you coached in Texas. Where do you see yourself right now? And do you keep those Northeast ties and then build other ones in other places at this point?
Well, I do recruit the Arkansas local schools, and the school in Pine Bluff is part of one of the top teams in the state. Coach Williams, and I have a great relationship with him. And again, recruiting starts with relationships.
Yeah.
We talk every week. I congratulate him every week. He's in the playoffs, and so I do recruit Texas. I was coaching high school football in Texas, and to jump into Texas football from New Jersey, from New Jersey, it was hard. They did not want me in that state, especially because I coach at IMG. But I built the relationships there, and I'm a relationship type person. I love people. I gravitate to good people. I want to make the people not as good, better people. So, with every interaction I have with people, I want to make that the best interaction. And then, I have a soft spot for kids, because I was that young man in the Northeast that academics was hard for me. I could not learn. And it took a coach for me to really understand how to learn. So I gravitate to student athletes. And my Twitter right now, I think I got like almost 40,000 followers, and all student athletes and coaches, because I want to give kids opportunity to go to college. And nowadays, the portal is knocking out high school recruiting.
Yeah.
Even us, we're focused on the portal and junior college kids. So our high school players are not getting opportunities to get recruited. But just to answer your question, yeah, I have new ties. I've been across the country coaching,
Yeah.
but I stay very close to the people in the Northeast because, I have those relationships. And I spoke to Coach Solomon yesterday. He was the head coach of Franklin High School. And we had a great conversation. Danny Garrett, I spoke with yesterday. He's the head coach for a Division III program, King University. We had a great. We just reminisced. We played against each other when we were younger, and he coached some of my players. I hired some of his coaches. So life is a circle, and that's where I really appreciate my journey,
Yeah.
because it's taken me from the high school ranks to college to Cornell to Bucknell to Minnesota. Remember that crazy stop in Minnesota? Got me an opportunity down in IMG, to Texas, now to Arkansas. So I've met a lot of people, and my thing is, when I leave, I know that I impacted at least one person, and I'm sure I impacted more. But coaches impact more people in their lives than most people.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you live in the sports world like we do, and you're a coach and I'm a broadcaster, and there's student athletes and professional athletes and so on and so forth, but we all have similarity in the fact that we probably know more people in this world than many. And you take a step back, I've talked to people about the show, and I've said at this point we've probably had close to 5,000 guests on Wake Up Call, not including any of the other shows that we do, Super Powered Pop, Do Diz with Dan, Comic Book Trails, Two Mics No Filter. And I said we probably had over 4,500, close to 5,000. I lost track. And when you think about that, and when you tell somebody like, I have 4,000 numbers in my phone, and they look at you and they're like, what do you mean? And but it happens over time, and it comes from those relationships. And when you say it, it's not like, oh, I got this number in my phone and like whatever, I don't care. It's, oh no, like a lot of these people I reach out to, on holidays I try to get out to as many people as I can, and wish people happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and so on and so forth. It's a world that we live in that demands a lot from us, but at the same time, Bobby, it gives so much to us because our world is so small. And it really does become like me talking with somebody, talking to Joe, who talks to Stacy, who talks to Sarah, and says, "Yeah, I know Bobby," and it comes right back. You talk to somebody in Florida, and they know. They know Pete, who knows Steve, who knows Kim, who is like, yeah, Dan's down here all the time covering the Jaguars. And that's the world that I think is so cool that we live in, because it is so demanding. It is so many hours, but at the same time, how many people can say that they arguably know a person in half of the states or all of the states? And I think that that's so much fun. You talk about the stops you had, and you said, if I touched one person, then look at what that does. And if you touch one, you touch two. If you touch two, you touch 10. If you touch 10, you touch 100. So you're building these inroads and opportunities, and people might say, how do you get from Minnesota to Arkansas and Texas to Florida? But it's a relationship world, which people forget. And I think, you have a choice to either treat the world as transactional, where you look at everybody like, what can I get from this person? And when I'm done using this ATM, I go on to the next one. Or you look at it as relationship. I can go back on this bridge for the rest of my life because I didn't treat this person as an ATM, and I'm there for them in and out of the world of sports. And I've built these friendships and these bonds that go far beyond, hey, coach, are you winning? So I'd love to get your thoughts on making our world small and transactional versus relationship.
Yeah, and that's very important because when you get older, The relationships I had with the players there. Sean Avant, for instance. I don't know if you talked to him lately. He's working for Syracuse in the academics. Brizzly Esteem called me not so long ago, talking about his kids. And, the biggest thing is, as soon as you establish the relationships, you have to embrace them and cherish them. And, I'll give you another example of why relationships are so important. I saw my offensive line coach struggling, and he probably was struggling with me because I'm so detailed. I want things a certain way. And I saw him kind of like, upset one day. And I said, what's going on? He's like, Coach, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with how you're pressing me. And I had a great conversation with him. And sometimes you have to sit back and listen rather than always trying to have all the answers. And so I kind of like, man, I probably was a little too, over the top with him. So I took his conversation and took what he said to me hard because, when someone has, if someone's going to critique you as a person and you're falling short, I appreciate that. A lot of people, they don't want to hear it because they get upset. But I took that, his concerns, and I really looked at myself in the mirror and said, man, I got to give him a shot. And sometimes the shot is making him, watching him make the mistake and correcting it and building him up.
Yeah.
So I didn't want our relationship if I left this year or next year, I didn't want our relationship to be as, hey, Coach Acosta was this type of person. Because his dad played in the NFL, this young man. So there's relationships there that I want to cherish. But, we're living in the world right now that everything is fast. So you may walk by a person that you should interact with because that person may offer some advice. But people are walking around the world with blinders now. It's this stop to this stop to this stop and go. But I think, like you said, you got to really enjoy the relationships that you're having on the way to wherever your success button looks like. And that's where I think COVID changed a lot because people didn't want to interact as much anymore.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting back to it. We're getting back to it.
Yeah, and I feel like we can't forget, right? You can't forget the importance of it. And there was things that were unfortunately taken during COVID that I thought there was this sense of control seeking, right? Cover your face. You can't see anybody smile. What is that one thing that lets you know that someone's good with you, right? That is universal in every language is when you walk up to them and they smile. And when that was gone, when they're telling people you can't go and see your family in the nursing home and then that person passes away and you can't bury them, you can't spend the last breath with them, the feeling of alone for that person passing away, the feeling of hollowness because you couldn't be there. I feel like there was all these things that happened around the pandemic that were set up to almost make us break and to make us all kind of emotionless to life, to death, to babies being born. And we have a chance now to do better. We have a chance now to value more. And I always tell people, I want to see you in person. If I can't see you in person, I'll call you. If I can't call you, I'll text you. But to me, I would rather do this sitting in a room together, Bobby. And if not, then yeah, we're doing it picture in picture because it's the next best thing. And if not that, then we're doing it on the phone. Yeah. We can't forget, and we shouldn't forget, and we should value quality time with each other. Talking about anything. I tell people all the time, all you want to talk about is sports. I said, all you ask me about is sports. I'll talk to you about anything in the world. I'll talk with you about laundry, whatever it may be, because when I think back on the best people that I know, and at the top of that list being my mom's mom, my G-Mama, If she was here right now, I would talk to her about pillow cushions, lamps. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's that interaction that we can't forget. And I think COVID had an opportunity to make us all kind of lock ourselves in our house and saying it's every person for themselves. Or to say, gosh darn it, the moment that I can come outside, I'm never going to let somebody lock me in my house again. I'm never going to let somebody take me away from my community. And I feel like we're at a place right now where I'm really hoping that this earth can turn toward each other instead of away, and realize that when you're building a house, you can build it by yourself or you can build it with help. And if you build it with help, it's going to get built a heck of a lot faster than if you're trying to hold up two beams by yourself and nail everything together.
And I think you hit it. It's when, people become distant and then they want to do it themselves. It's where you're really gonna take steps back. And my philosophy is, hey, I'm gonna meet you 50%. I want you to meet me 50%, and we can make something special happen. So we're in the profession where, we could allow our voices to speak so we can impact people. And and that's our purpose. I think sometimes you have to really reset and find your purpose. And when people don't have purpose, sometimes they're lost in life. They're just walking through life, collecting a paycheck, not understand why they're here. Imagine if everyone in this world understood their purpose. And I think, people tend to lose that. And that's my motivation. Like, my purpose is to impact one person every day. One person. And like you said, that one person then is going to impact 5 others. And then becomes a cycle. And, this reset for me right now, even this conversation, because there's awareness happening. I'm like, oh, wow, the light bulb is going off. When I get back to work on Monday, I'm going to have a smile on my face, and I'm going to make that one person better. Because on Saturday, I remember I went into work and, I didn't follow my doctor's order. So I started getting these migraines. I started to get an eye ache. And I'm like, that's God telling me rest. So he sent me back home. I went to the doctors on Monday, and I tore scar tissue. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just have a new perspective on life. Because when you lose your vision, and I'm like, man, imagine if you lose both eyes. Yeah. Imagine those people that are walking around this world that they can't even see our conversation. They can only hear. So when I took off the contact out of this eye and I couldn't see out of this eye, I was pretty much blind. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to let that happen again, because I have too much life to live, too many people to impact, and to, not be able to see is scary. So, and that's why I said to the kids before I left, I said, hey, you're given an opportunity every day. Don't take it for granted. And guess what? Next man up. All right. So Steve Wallace is doing a great job as a first-year football coach, trying to put this together. And I watch his passion and enthusiasm. This education part of the job, you just don't sign up for it. It just happens. So I'm excited for our game on Saturday to see all this adversity that we're going, supposedly adversity that we're going through. I really can't wait to see our kids grow and move forward.
Yeah, and you said before we take a step aside here on Wake Up Call this morning with Bobby Acosta and myself, Dan Tortora, you said, I lost my vision. And it was a temporary thing, and it was scary. And the thing I want to send people into the break with, you can lose your vision, or you can lose your vision. You can lose your vision temporarily, right? Not be able to see. Or you could lose your vision of where you're going and what you're heading, that bigger picture. And if you lose that vision, there's no amount of surgery that can bring that back. You have to bring that back with God.
Yes.
We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll come back right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of where sports truly meets that thing called life. I'm honored and privileged this morning to be with you all around the world, picture in picture with Bobby Acosta, the Arkansas Pine Bluff football offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And right before we took that step aside, I said you can lose your vision or you can lose your vision. Bobby, what does that mean to you?
Well, I love what you're saying because I use the term vision positions you to win. And so I usually, with a new program, I usually put up a picture on a PowerPoint of New York City. And then you can see the crowd of people because you know what New York City looks like.
Yeah.
And I tell our kids, all right, what do you see? What do you see with your vision? They say, I see traffic. I see a lot of people. It's crowded. And I usually say, close your eyes. Now expand your vision. What do you see? And they start squinting their eyes. Oh, coach, I start seeing the buildings in the back. I see the smoke. Then I said, well, sometimes you need to close your eyes so you can expand your vision and block out the crowd and start to see the destination. And that's what vision is to me. It's sometimes, you have to reset your vision, open up your eyes and see what's really out there, the goal, the end piece, so you can start working towards that. So if you don't have a goal, if you don't have targets, what are you working for? So, with some people, they say vision is their motivation because they can wake up every day and have that vision of, hey, I'm going to be successful today. I'm going to build this today. I'm going to make this one thing better today. but losing my eyesight, my vision, really allowed myself to see the bigger picture. Saying you only get life once. Why put, the bad food? Why have a lack of sleep? Why have a lack of energy? Why have a bad attitude where you only get life once and you can only impact the person once every day? So for me, I don't think I'm going to have bad days anymore. And those bad days, the winning and the losing, if your program is losing, if you're losing in life, it's an opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm excited about, getting back to work on Monday.
Absolutely. And I can appreciate all of that you just, and I love that because I'll do that, close your eyes and you try to reset your eyes. We talk about resetting, right? You close them, you try again. And to see beyond all of that noise, all of that traffic, all of those people that could be for you or against you, to see what is in the distance, what you are aiming for. I think that's great, Bobby, and I think that's an awesome thing. I think people should use that all over the place to put everybody in a room, no matter what it is, business owner or, a family that's lost their focus or a football team, to say, here's the picture, what do you see? Close your eyes, now tell me what you see again. I think that's fantastic. I think it can work anywhere, and I think that's why we've seen you be able to work anywhere. We're going to get into rapid fire, but before we do that, you talk about changing things, eating healthy, getting sleep. That's all speaking to me right now, very loud and clear. And there's a place that I started working with, two places, Nutrition Wave in Cicero here in upstate New York, and North Star Nutrition in North Syracuse. And I want to let you know that, so I've been drinking water because my doctor was like, I want you to stay away from, I don't want you having energy drinks, I don't want you doing this, that, and whatever. I want you putting good stuff in. Well, I like taste, and I love fruit. And so I met with Christy from North Star Nutrition and Nutrition Wave, and we were talking. We ended up signing a partnership. And I said, would you be open to me creating my own drink? She turns around and she's like, starting to go. So what do you want? What flavors do you like? Pomegranate, blueberry, blackberry, strawberry, watermelon. A healthy tea. A tea that gives you vitamins, aloe. If you put more caffeine into it, it helps you to focus. If you put more caffeine to it from there, there's the metabolism boost that helps you if you're working out and want to burn calories, lose weight and whatnot. And it's called the mic drop. And so to me, I'm very excited because you talk about being healthy, and we just made that move in business and personally for me. So when you come into town again, Bobby, we're going to have to get you a mic drop for sure.
That's awesome. I love that. Wow. I'll tell you this. I gave up my 5-hour energy drinks the last 2 weeks. I didn't have one. And, this is the reset. This is part of the reset.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. So part of my reset, same type of thing. Now on to the healthy side. When I finish the show today, I'll be going to get a mic drop because I have been away from the flavor. I had a little upset stomach the last few days, and so I've kind of just been like away from everything. And I had my first genuine meal yesterday, which was wonderful. I had a turkey sub, but it was so. But you say, something gets taken away from you. You don't think about it, right? You put this in, you put that in your body, and I couldn't tell you, that's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite turkey sub of my life, because I got to eat food and keep it down and feel better this morning because of it. So appreciate the little things, folks, because there are people that wish they had a turkey sandwich, wish they had an opportunity to be on the internet, wish they could coach a football team. There's a lot of things that people would love to have that are as simple as waking up in the morning, having both of your eyes, and being able to walk down the stairs and make yourself a sandwich. So do not live in a world where you don't appreciate these things, including Bobby and I, who are learning every day. So Bobby, let's play rapid fire. You get the first question. You can ask me anything in the world whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's drop into the football world.
Okay.
Who's going to be the number one team in the country in college football this year?
Tough. So I have argued that the top two teams in the country to me for a long time this season have been Florida State and Georgia. I do not believe that. So here's my thing with the Big Ten, and I'm gonna make. I know a lot of people listen to the show every week. They know my thoughts. I would say this about any conference, and I would say this about any school. Let me preface with that: when you have an unfair advantage, it has to be brought out. Michigan, Ohio State, the Big Ten as a whole has an unfair advantage. If you look at Michigan's record, they have beaten no one that is ranked except for Penn State, who is only ranked high because they're in the Big Ten, and Penn State hadn't beaten anybody that was ranked except for Iowa, who was 24th at the time. Ohio State, they haven't really beaten anybody. I'm not convinced that Notre Dame is a fantastic team this season, and besides that, Ohio State hasn't shown me anything that they've done of merit. If you were Syracuse, if you were Duke, if you were Rutgers, and you beat any of these teams that Michigan and Ohio State are beating, you wouldn't even be in the top 25. So I'm not believing that. I believe that Michigan and Ohio State have talent to go to the NFL individually. I believe that wholeheartedly. But do I believe that they're the best teams in the country based on who they played? Absolutely not, because they haven't played anybody. Now, Florida State has been challenged a few times. Georgia plays in the SEC, hello. So, I mean, to me, Georgia, if I had to pick it right now, I would say Georgia arguably is the best team. Florida State, I think, has been battle tested, so I would put them up there. But I want to caution people on something. Everybody forgot about this, it seems like. Maybe not everybody, but maybe a lot of people forgot about this. There's this team down in the state of Alabama called the Crimson Tide. And when they lost their first game, everybody turned around and said, well, this is over. Season's over. Guess they're not going to the college football playoff. And did you realize right now that Alabama has one loss? They're 9-1. They're 7-0 in the conference in the SEC. And playing in the SEC championship, here is my argument. If Alabama plays Georgia, which it's setting up to be so, and they play each other in the SEC championship, and Alabama beats Georgia, they'll both have one loss. Georgia's been regarded as one of the best teams in the nation. So if Alabama beats Georgia and they both have one loss, they're both going to the college football playoff with Florida State, and I would argue Washington, because why do we need to see the Big Ten embarrass themselves again? That would be my answer.
No, and you forget, like, Florida State a year ago, they wanted his job, you know? So, yeah, I'm a Michigan fan because I have my quarterback there, J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
And I'm an Alabama fan because I have about 4 players there. But I think you hit it, you know, the SEC, you know, and Florida State, they're pretty strong right now.
And so, yeah, with that being said, well, somebody wrote in, you're on the record for Florida State and Big Ten slander. It's not Big Ten slander. It's called Big Ten factual statements. But I do appreciate the response we got in here from somebody. And I picked Florida State because prove me wrong. I guess, I mean, Florida State, and they've said that Florida State has played a weak schedule. And if Michigan and Ohio State are in right now, it couldn't get weaker than that this season. So, Bobby, my question to you, if we had the college football playoff happen today, give me your 4 teams.
Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, and Florida State.
Okay. And who's going to win? If it was those 4, who's winning?
You know, I want to see Michigan win. Because of everything that they're going through. You know, I don't know if that spy thing was, you know, legit, but, you know, I love watching my quarterback play, J.J. McCarthy. You know, he is a passionate young man. You know, I think his play is the reason why they're up there right now. You know, he meditates right before the games. You know, you love Alabama, love Coach Saban. But sometimes you want to see a different team on top. Georgia is a machine, you know, but I would love to see Michigan win it this year.
Yeah, we shall see. Listen, if one of those Big Ten teams gets in and they actually win some games, then we can see. You know what I mean? We could see it. My whole thing is, you shouldn't have a route there if you haven't beaten anybody. That's my only thing. It's not that Michigan and Ohio State don't have talent. I've never said that. It's that they have an easier path. And if you have an easier path to get there, It's not fair to the Georgias and to the Alabamas and to the Florida States to say, well, Florida State, you're in a conference where Clemson's not good this year, so you all suck. That's not fair to say. And I mean, I definitely think there's teams that, I mean, you look at the ACC, and outside of a couple teams, everybody's fighting everybody. Virginia Tech is not having a great year, but they beat a top 25 team. Virginia's not having a great year, but they beat a top 25 team. North Carolina's gotten better. Duke's gotten better. NC State continues to find their way and continues to have disrespect, which I still don't understand. You know, I mean, Georgia Tech has gotten better after going through a bunch of different coaches since Paul Johnson. This seems to be sticking. Louisville has played better. So, I mean, you got to call a spade, but we'll see what happens as it comes up here.
And living down here, SEC, the southern part of the United States, the football is different. You know, there's something about the kids are bigger, faster, stronger down here. I don't know if it's the equator that the sun is down shining on them hard, but it's definitely a different beast down here.
Yeah, absolutely. Bobby, what's your next question for me?
What's your you know, January is right around the corner. Yeah. You know, what do you want for the new year coming up?
For the new year coming up, good question. I am a person who does not wait for the new year to make change if I need to make change, so I will say that. But I would say, you know, going into 2024, which seems like I'm in some space movie when I say that year, but going into 2024, I would say, you know, if I haven't found love yet, I would hope for that. You know, I've always wanted to be able to give all this love I have to, you know, that special woman and get it back from her. I'd love to be a dad and you know, before I'm done with this world, I'd love to, you know, have some kids running around. I have my dog, and I said if she's the only daughter I ever have, I feel very blessed. But, you know, I would love to find love in a world that seems like more and more it's not out there. I would love to show that it's out there, not just for myself, but for somebody else. And, you know, I love the opportunity to be a dad. You know, I feel like if God took me now and said, is there anything you wish you did? I would look right at him and say, yeah, I wish I met somebody that was good enough to marry, that actually loved me right, and that I got to give all this love to so that I could be a father and be a husband. So I would probably say that, you know, in the new year, I would hope that love would be somewhere. And if not, you know, to be surrounded by my family and friends, it's way more than enough love that I genuinely appreciate. What do I want in the new year? I've told people I want to work in movies. I would like to take some steps right now that'll build a path for that in 2024. And I would hope that everything that I went through health-wise this year will be healed completely and for good, and that God will help me to have the right tools and the right things that I need to take care of myself, because I had, like you, I had kind of a freak vocal cord, neck, throat injury of some sort, and it caused me to really sit back and think to myself, you know, I speak for my life and I use my voice all the time, and to feel like I couldn't do the one thing that I did every time life was good, every time life was hard, I never thought I wouldn't have my voice, and it's affected a lot, you know, and it's kind of affected me mentally to sit here and say, like, I can't sing like I've been singing. I can't use my voice in certain, you know, instances like I'd use it. So I would like for there to be some healing, answers, positivity, growth, love, and just to know that I could put my trust in places that God will guide me to, I would say.
Yeah. Great answer.
Mike,
it's for me. Go
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
For me, I need to figure this out. How do I get my kids in this world? How do I exist in their world every single day? So that's a big focus for me is, you know, I got to get to my kids. You know, my son is about to go to high school next year, and my daughter is going to be a 6-foot model So I have to, be that daddy.
Yeah.
So, I live through pictures
Yeah.
and FaceTime calls, and it makes me sad.
Well, my hope is that you get those two worlds of yours to collide, because I know that that's important to you. My last question to you: what is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given, and who gave it to you?
Yeah, it's my mom, and she always tells me that to keep good people in your life,
Yeah.
that make you happy, and to eliminate the negatives out of your life. And sometimes you hit it, you have friendships, you have relationships, you have business, partners that are toxic. And for some reason, like when I have conversations with my mom, she knows where I am
Yeah.
mentally. And so, with this eye thing, she's calling me every day. Are you sleeping? Are you getting enough food? And she's like, Bobby, you get this opportunity once, and your health, your kids need you. And so, mom still gives me the best advice. She had twins at the age of 14. She's from New York City. She's Hispanic, Puerto Rican. And sometimes you want to do this, but, I'm getting to the point in my life that I'm listening a lot better now.
And that's a big thing. And I know my mom, she listens like every single day, and I appreciate it so much. And I think of her when you say that, like the fact that you could go back to your mom and talk to your mom. And I think that, in our worlds, Bobby, when you have parents, guardians, mom and dad, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever it may be, that you can still make that phone call. There's something that I saw. It was a post, and it said incoming call mom, incoming call dad, and it said if you get either one of these today, you're blessed. And so, make sure that when you talk to your mom, you tell her that I said hello, and even though I don't know her, I know you, and tell her from my mom to her, thank you for being a part of your children's lives, because we can never thank our moms enough, our dads enough for caring. And so tell your mom from my mom to her, thank you for doing all the hard work and the dirty work and the work that so many people don't want to do, because moms that call their kids and want to be a part of their kids' lives no matter how old we get are really the best ones.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. Yes. And I'll definitely do that until your parents to say hello to. And, it's the reason why we're talking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're the
and
ones.
and
They're
why
the
we
ones
have
that
a
gave us a shot.
relationship. Yeah.
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 So with that being said, Bobby, I want to thank you. I hope you heal up. I hope that you feel better. I hope that this reset button works for you now and 50 years from now. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep your head up. Stay positive, and thank you so much for, answering my call, answering my text, being here today. And the conversation we had was such a big and broad conversation that I believe can speak to anybody. And I'm so grateful that you took this time with me, for me to learn, for me to hear God, and hopefully for other people to do the same. So as much as you might be down and as much as it might get hard at times, you want to get back to work, I can appreciate that totally. But whatever happened to you, whatever happened in your life now, it caused us to have this conversation. And I think it's going to cause a lot of people to rethink a lot of things in a positive way. So thank you, Bobby, for being a vessel for light out there. We need it.
And I appreciate you having me on, and and the relationships that you have with the group. And also keeping Fred Reed's legacy alive. And I hope one day when I'm gone, that legacy is carried on too. So I appreciate what you do a lot. I appreciate our relationship. So.
And I do as well. And, you stick around for a long time. So just do that
Yes.
for me. But yeah, every time I see Eastern Michigan, every time it's like, and just put it up. So, Fred's and to Fred's wife, who sent me 2 messages over the last couple of years, and I never met her in person. The 2 messages she sent me are 2 things that I will take in my life. For when you say you hope you touch one life, you hope you touch one person, the messages that I've gotten from her have caused me to have no doubt in my mind that someone picks up what you put down. And I think about him. I think about him a lot. So the way we keep Fred alive is we keep our relationship strong. As your mom said, we surround ourselves with good people, and we keep having conversations that are needed, and we stay in touch with each other. Bobby, I think Fred loves it when he sees this, and we got to keep doing it and keep helping each other, help others. That's what it comes down to.
I love it. So let's keep on working. Let's keep on doing it.
We will. Amen. So take care of yourself, get better, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Okay, Dan, awesome job. I love this. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, you too. Take care. Be well.
Take care. Bye.
See you. Coming once again from Bobby Acosta here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take a quick step aside, and we're going to get ready for PJ joining the broadcast right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stay tuned, and we have a very special message coming up for the first time ever coming up later in the show. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Every single broadcast we do Monday through Friday, and coming to you 7 days a week at their location. Do not miss a second of that sports card collecting fun by heading off to GG Cards and Breaks Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Get yourself into GG Cards and Breaks, and on your screen right now you could see the Wildcat and the GG Cards and Breaks logos are next to each other. And what does that mean for you? It means that tonight, yes, tonight, you got to make your plans for tonight, Thursday, November 16th, tonight, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I have merged my two partners together for this awesome opportunity tonight. We are taking GG Cards and Breaks Trade Night, where you can buy, sell, and trade cards, and everybody from the community can bring their cards in and we can interact with each other, buy, sell, and trade. That's happening tonight, but it's happening at the Wildcat. We're taking everything we do at GG Cards and Breaks, bringing it to the Wildcat. I'm going to broadcast live. We're going to be giving stuff away. This is an awesome opportunity for sports fans, for card collectors, for the entire community. Fantastic food, awesome cards, great businesses, all working together tonight. Wake Up Call, GG Cards and Breaks, the Wildcat Sports Pub. We will see you tonight at the Wildcat, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. This is unlike anything we've ever done in the community, and we're doing it tonight. We're going to make some history tonight. We're going to have some fun, and I can't wait to see what cards y'all bring out. I'm going to be bringing out some of mine, and I'm going to see if some of you have something that I would like to put in my collection, and vice versa. So let's have some fun with it tonight. GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. And tonight, Trade Night moves to the Wildcat. We'll see you at 3680 Milton Ave in Camillus, New York for great pizza, great drinks, and a great time with great cards. So cannot wait for all of that is to be tonight. And if PJ and MT and Joey were up here, they would eat this thing up. So I'm going to make sure that I send them some pictures, send them some video, and have some fun with it. With that being said, we talk about PJ because the man of the hour is on the broadcast. Papa Joe here with us to speak on the 2023 Major League Baseball Awards. We got a couple more to go. Who's the MVP of the AL and the NL? We're going to find out tonight. But we already know our Cy Youngs, we know our Rookie of the Years, and we know our Manager of the Year, so we'll discuss that. Some managers have shifted. There's different things going on. We'll talk about that. College football, the NFL, and of course, we'll round out the show with the Jaguars. So with that being said, let me bring in the go-so, the grand old smooth one, Papa Joe, PJ, the man that you can call whatever you want to call, just don't swear at him and don't say he's late for dinner. Papa Joe is here in the flesh. PJ, how we doing?
Good morning, Daniel. Everything's good down here. A little bit of rain, but at least it's not 90 million degrees. And we're okay with that.
So Papa Joe here with us this morning. PJ, we're gonna jump right into it on the baseball side of things. Your thoughts on our award winners? I want to let everybody know and keep you abreast of this. Is if you don't have if you didn't hear it, we're gonna share it with you, and if you did hear it, then we're gonna go over it with you too. But we know the awards that have come in. Like I said, we don't have the MVPs yet. They're going to be announced tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the MLB Network. But We know that our Cy Young in the American League is Garrett Cole of the New York Yankees, and we know that our Cy Young of the National League is Blake Snell. Blake Snell of the Padres winning his second Cy Young award in his career. We know that our managers of the year, Brandon Hyde of the Orioles and Skip Shoemaker of the Marlins in the National League. And our rookies of the year, we talked about earlier on this week in the show, my good buddy, Dukes Knutson, who is the press box manager for the Tampa Bay Rays, comes into contact with many players throughout his time. And one of the people he's gotten to meet, spend time with, and build a relationship with through not just baseball, but also through faith in God, is Gunnar Henderson. And Gunnar won the Rookie of the Year for the Orioles in the AL. And who's that man that did it in the National League? Rookie of the Year. That's right, Arizona Diamondback, Corbin Mother freaking Carroll. That's right. So congratulations to Mr. Hyde, Shoemaker, Carroll, as well as Gunnar Henderson, and a big-time shout-out to Cole and Snell. PJ, I've told everybody the winners. I want to get your thoughts on who took these awards home this season.
Well, Cole figured because he had a dynamic year for the Yankees. He's been thought of as one of the best pitchers in baseball for several years. And even when he was with Houston, I thought he won the event that year. But no, someone else got him. But he's either first, second, or third for the last 5 years, I think. And he deserves it this year because he was the best pitcher on a very poor team, poor managed team, and a poor team put together by Cashman. I'm going to give him the blame here, even though Aaron Boone is supposed to take the blame. But Cashman made some bad deals. He's carrying too much weight. He's carrying guys who can't play anymore. Giancarlo Stanton is one of them, of course. But he's got to do it right this spring, because if he doesn't, he's going to get fired. I'm almost sure of that. He's got to bring up his kids, let the kids play, and you hope you augment some of your positions that you need. He's always in the run for any top flight free agent because they have so much money. So we'll see what happens. Rookie of the year, Corbin Carroll certainly deserves that. He was a sensational, good young player.
Yeah.
And Gunnar Henderson from Baltimore. Didn't know much about Gunnar when the season started, but I learned a little bit more about him because Baltimore had such a good year. Again, these guys are supposed to carry their teams. They're too young to carry their teams. And meanwhile, Baltimore fell flat on their ass. So, who do you blame for that? You blame the manager. Brandon Hyde deserves all the credit in the world at Baltimore. I mean, 2 years ago, they were a mess. I think they lost 100 games. And then last year, of course, he came on Barnstorm and won the manager of the year, and Skip Shoemaker from Miami. Anyone manages Miami good is going to get some kind of award. So, I don't know. Derek Jeter was down there as the GM, quote, baseball expert, I think for 4 years or something like that. And then they brought in this young Asian lady who was very smart, and she couldn't get things running either. But at least on the baseball field, he had a good guy. Skip Shoemaker was a good player for many years for many different teams. He was kind of an auxiliary player. He would play many positions. And that's how you learn the game, and Skip Shoemaker is that good. There are some managers I want to talk about if you want to do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the best manager hiree that I think came with the Angels when they hired Ron Washington. Now, any baseball guy knows that Ron Washington's been around for years, just like Dusty Baker. They're in the same age group. They played for years. They managed for years. The last time Ron Washington managed was, I think, from 77 to 85, the Texans. And then he's bounced around a little bit, coaches here, but he's been the bench coach for Atlanta for years, and we know that Atlanta does a hell of a job. So he deserves it. He's a good guy. I mean, a really, really, really good guy. Just like Dusty Baker, they're low-key. They know the game inside and out. forget all this Atlantic analytic BS. These guys are baseball guys. Dusty McCraker has proved over the years that you don't need analytics to do this kind of job. You need a baseball man. And Ron Washington is a baseball man. Let's see. I got Craig Counsell goes to the Cubs from the Brewers. That really hurt me a lot. That one stung me a little bit because I thought, Counsell's been there for years. He's been an executive in the front office, been a manager for years. He single-handedly almost carries the Brewers to their titles because their team isn't as good as some of the other teams. But somehow he gets $40 million from the Cubs to manage for 5 years. That's $8 million a year for a manager. That is unheard of. No one in the Major League Baseball gets that kind of salary. But again, that's going to be the benchmark. The other guy is going to say, well, if Counsell get $8 million, I'm worth $7.5 million. That kind of stuff. That's good luck to Craig. But the only problem is he's playing in the same division as the Brewers, so he's going to get a lot of boos when he stops up. The Mets hired the Yankees bench coach, Carlos Mendoza. Don't know a lot about Carlos. Don't know if he even played. I got to look him up. But with more Asian players or Latin players we have in the league, these guys have got to be able to be bilingual. And I think that's part of the job now. And you got Joe Espinata was hired by Houston. He was a bench coach there for years. And of course he's bilingual. Because there's so many Dominican players and so many Cuban players and so on and so on. I don't want to fuss on that because I want to see good players play, but I still say there's plenty of players in our country that deserve to play. The Giants somehow stole Bob Melvin from San Diego to go to the Giants. That was a big time move. Let's see, is there any other? No, I think that's all the managers I got. No, that's good. So now we get into the possibility of the MVPs.
Yeah.
In my opinion, of course, it's strictly my opinion, I think Ron Acuna from the Braves has got it locked up. There shouldn't be any argument in anyone's mind that this kid did it. The only person that stole more than 40 bases and hit 50 home runs and stole more than 40 home runs and 50 stolen bases. So he's the real deal, and he's fun to watch because he's a good hitter, plus he's a good defender. He bunts, he hits for average, he's got a good arm, he does it all. Now the American League one is, I'm going to fuss at this a little bit. I know that Ohtani's going to get the MVP of the American League. I'm going to grant he plays his position. He plays 90% of his games. He hits for averages. He hits for home runs. He bunts. He steals. He does it all. This is the second time he should be in the MVP talk because he won it once for Los Angeles. Now he's going to lose because you're going to lose to Ohtani. And Ohtani is Ohtani. I'm not going to fuss at this about either because he is a generational talent. I understand that. I accept that. But there's not a lot of baseball guys out there like me who wouldn't say that Corey Seager deserves that. So that's it for a while. You got any questions? Go ahead.
Look at PJ saying, "You got any questions? I run this show." So having a good time here. Listen, here are my thoughts. Now I'm going to go down the line. And I know you mentioned the managers and whatnot. I'm going to go down the line here and say, Garrett Cole, not surprised. I would have picked him to win in the American League. Blake Snell, there was a bunch of guys we brought up. I think Snell was still the number one vote of the four guys that we brought up. I'm happy that within the top four, if not the top three, my guy from Arizona was up there as well. So, a big time shout out to the fact that, I get to see that, and I get to see Zach Gallen up there in the Cy Young race. Rookies of the year, I mean, Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll. Gunnar Henderson helps his team get to the number 1 seed and the second best record. Number 1 seed in the American League, second best record in all of Major League Baseball. Corbin Carroll with Arizona brings them from people thinking they're not even going to win 70 games to getting into the playoffs to making it to the World Series for only the second time in their young history as a franchise. And then Brandon Hyde with the Orioles to lead them. I mean, granted, did they win a lot in the postseason? No, they didn't have a lot of success there. But, and the same thing, Miami. Miami was not a team that, these 2 managers of the year, in my opinion, I would have given the managers of the year to the Rangers and to the Diamondbacks, but they do it through the season, right? They're looking at the season. They're not looking at the postseason. So you look at what Miami did to even make themselves relevant. But I would also argue that, with Torey Lovullo, that it should have been him or Shoemaker. And then, if we're just looking at strictly the regular season, because who would have thunk Miami, who would have thunk Arizona? And then Brandon Hyde, the Orioles, the way that they did what they did. I mean, this is a team that started off hot a few years ago. And like you said, a team that recently is losing 100 games. Now they're winning 100 games. You have to give it up to Brandon Hyde. So I don't disagree with anything here. I just think Lovullo had a case in the regular season, like Shoemaker did, of getting National League Manager of the Year. As far as MVP, I'm going to go to the National League first. Ronald Acuna Jr., I'll put it to you like this. We talk about sports cards and GG cards and breaks. If you're looking for a sports card that hasn't changed or a player that hasn't really changed their value, their stock is high. If you have one of their cards a year ago, it's good. If you have one of their cards now, it's good. People want to buy them. People are looking for them. And that would be Ronald Acuna Jr. He's one of probably the top 2 cards that people are looking for. Top 2 value cards, top 2 graded cards, top 2 rookie cards, autographs, whatever you want to say, patch cards. Ronald Acuna Jr.'s stock continues to be high, and why not? He's the first person in Major League Baseball history to have 40 home runs and 70 stolen bases in a single season. We'll look to see if somebody like Corbin Carroll can match that in the not-too-distant future, but Ronald Acuna in the National League, I don't know how you can say anybody else. And the Braves were the number 1 seed, and they won more games than anybody else in the regular season, so that's something to look to as well. On the American League side, and we'll look at some things we got coming in, Ohtani had a legendary season. Seager was light years behind, plus Seager missed almost 2 months of play. Even if he did play 160-plus regular season games, he wouldn't be close. Judge literally had to put up legendary numbers to beat Ohtani last year. And that's the thing that we're dealing with, and somebody else had said that to me recently, is, Aaron Judge, look at everything he had to do to beat Ohtani. Look at everything that Seager would have to do to beat Ohtani. PJ's argument is that Seager, like many people in baseball, because Ohtani is an enigma, Seager plays the field. And so he's got to be out there doing all of this. He's not, on the mound or just hitting, or in certain games just hitting. So, to look at it from that point of view, to say, should a pitcher DH win this thing, is the question that PJ brings up. I'm going to put it to you like this. As long as Shohei Ohtani can be who Shohei Ohtani has been, which is an incredible hitter and an incredible pitcher, and whoever thought that it would happen in both. And I think that that's the thing that star strikes people, is Randy Johnson, fantastic pitcher. Hitting, he was under 200. And when you saw a pitcher come up in any game, your thought was, this is probably an easier out than most, except for Shohei Ohtani. And you could say Babe Ruth was a pitcher and a really great hitter, but was Babe Ruth the type of pitcher that Ohtani is? No. Ohtani is in a world by himself. Ronald Acuna Jr. is in a world by themselves. That's why they win this year. But Corey Seager, if I could say anything about the Rangers hitter here, is that Corey Seager, to me, is somebody that I know firsthand is a pain in the tush. I know that from my Diamondbacks, who I love dearly, going up against a guy who was like going up against Jordan. It was every time he stepped up to the plate, good Lord, should we just walk him every time? And you think that about Aaron Judge, you think that about some Yankees in the past, you think that about Derek Jeter, the guys that you don't want to throw to, Barry Bonds as well. And for that in and of itself. Corey Seager, and again, you're doing this for the regular season. It's supposed to just be for the regular season. You're not supposed to make this based on who won the World Series. I can argue Corey Seager, and I do not believe he's light years behind because he is such an incredible part of this team and because he is that person that can change a game in an instant. So in that very small field of players that can do such a thing to the caliber that he does it, which I got to see firsthand, I can honestly say that Corey Seager to me is not a far and distant two. He's a closer two than I think people give it. But as long as Shohei Ohtani can hit and pitch, we're looking at a world where, is anybody else going to win? Now, with this being a very interesting upcoming season for Shohei Ohtani, he is not going to be hitting and pitching. He's going to be strictly hitting. Then the next year, hopefully he will be hitting and pitching again. So can he win this award next season if he's just a hitter, just a DH, not pitching and not playing the field? I don't think he does. I don't think he does. And do they look at maybe giving him the award more so this year because they know he can't get it next year? That shouldn't go into the decision making. But again, this is human beings. These are humans that are going to be making these decisions. And human beings could look at the fact that Ohtani may never be the same again. He may never win this again. So that could be something that factors into the decision that shouldn't. But as long as Shohei Ohtani can pitch and hit the way that he does, there is nobody in the world that is going to take his spot. The interesting thing is going to be next year when he cannot do both, if he can make enough of a case as a hitter and not a field player and not being on the mound to win. Because right now he's two players in one. But next year he's going to be one player. And I think next year he doesn't win because of that, arguably. But Corey Seager, as great as he is there anybody that can pitch and hit like Shohei Ohtani? Arguably nobody in the history of mankind. So I think as long as you have it, you got to keep giving him the MVP.
Well, that's true. I mean, I'm not debating the talent of this man. That's not my debate. My debate is how it is, how it's looked at. Now, there's talk about Ohtani playing the outfield.
Yeah.
Now, if he's playing the outfield, he's got to make a single in the right field. Picks the ball up, he's got to throw it to third base on a line. You get a guy trying to get to third base. Well, if he can throw the ball from deep right corner to third base on a dime, he should be pitching. So I think the Angels whoever's going to get him, they got to be real careful with this. If I was his agent or whoever, I would say, listen, you know what's happening with the guy. You know he's got a bad arm. You know he had a surgery. You know he's going to come back strong. He's going to hit this year only. And the guy said, well, listen, can't he play a little outfield? No, not if he's got to catch a fly ball in center field. You got to try to get the guy out of plate. He's got to throw a 250 on the dime guy right to the catcher. Can he do that? Probably, but I'm not sure that anyone wants to do that. If whoever signs him for the $500 million that he's going to command is going to take that in consideration. Look at guys, if you do that, leave the man alone. Let him just hit. Don't even try to play him at first base. Let him hit, and when the next season comes out, then he can do his dual role. So, for all you guys, the suitors that are trying to get him, just remember that.
Yeah, and again, this could be the year that he gets it, and then next year we're talking about he's not going to get it. So, that's something that we have to look at, and it's something that we have to understand because that's the world that we're living in with Shohei Ohtani. It's a very unfortunate situation, but it's the situation that Shohei Ohtani with this injury is going to be going through. And I would just love for things to be faster on schedule and for him to surprise us all and be able to do both next year. But the thing is, we're talking about this not generational player. We're talking about this once in a planet Earth arguable player. And from generation to generation, we might never see another one like him again. And in that case, we have to really honestly look at the fact that I am hoping and praying that what we have come to know and love about Shohei is that he gets to do it again. I don't want to have Shohei go through this surgery and this rehab and not be the same player. I don't want that for him. I don't want that for, his legacy, and I don't want that for the fans, because granted, we don't matter anywhere as much as he matters to the health of himself, but we keep talking about how great he is, and there's this potential that he couldn't be the same after this, and I really hope that that's not the case, because I don't want to think about how great Shohei is and then we never get to see how great he is again. So I would hope and pray to the Almighty God that Shohei is only just getting started and that things continue to go well for him, and God bless him. But I'm not going to be surprised. Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna Jr., AL and NL MVP respectively, and that seems like the way it's going to go. Getting into college football, we're going to shift gears here into college football. PJ and I picked a ton of games last week, and so we had this done, and we had everything set up, and when we look at this, we look at all of the games that we picked, college football week 11, and now we have a chance to take a look at where we stand right now with college football week 11 with all of the games that we had put on the docket here. We're to go down the line. Louisville is the first game that I'll go to here that we picked, and I'm going to bounce around here a little bit because I'm going to try and get us all by the conference schedule since we picked so many games. So we'll go to Louisville first. Louisville in week 11, as we go back to that, they got the victory over Virginia by a touchdown. So 31-24. Virginia hasn't been as bad as people anticipated that they would be for the rest of this season. So we both got that one right. Clemson defeated Georgia Tech by 2 touchdowns, 42-21. So we're going to go ahead and circle that game as well. Florida State went up against Miami, and they beat Miami 27-20. So I'm going to circle that one for PJ and I, as we got that one correct. And we picked Pittsburgh over Syracuse, and Syracuse shocked a lot of people. Their quarterback was their tight end, who used to be a quarterback, and he led the team with 3 completions on 5 attempts for 16 yards. So that is where we ended up there. They got the victory, though. We'll see if their gimmicky football can win, or what they're going to put forward this week against a better Georgia Tech team. I'm happy that Syracuse found a way to get a victory, but I don't know if that's going to work against a better team. Michigan and Penn State, we picked Penn State to win this game. Michigan won on the road 24-15, so we got that one incorrect. And taking a look at the Iowa game here, Iowa defeated Rutgers 22-0. Again, making a statement about that Rutgers team when people are telling, oh, Rutgers is so good. If Ohio State beats them, look at how fantastic they are. Blah, 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 blah. So, looking at that and looking at the fact that, Rutgers is really, look at how they played against Iowa. They're not a bad team. They're a bowl team, but they're not a team that you beat in order to argue your case for being the number 1 team in the country. And I think they showed that against Iowa, not even scoring a single point. The next one that we have up here to take a look at the Big 12. And in the Big 12, we picked a few games here. Oklahoma State, here we go again. Is Oklahoma State a pretender? They get ranked again, another team that gets ranked so high. And UCF, who has been struggling in their first season in the Big 12, they beat Oklahoma State, who's ranked 15th in the nation. UCF unranked. UCF beats them 45-3. They didn't beat them. They pummeled them. And you look at a game like that and say to yourself, okay, so what does that say about Oklahoma State? Kansas loses to Texas Tech as well. So we lose that one in a close battle. And I said, is Kansas going to continue to contend, or are they going to fall? They lose 16-13 at home against unranked Texas Tech. So the Big 12 beating up on each other, making things interesting. Cincinnati defeated Houston, and I went with Houston. PJ went with Cincinnati. Cincinnati has struggled all throughout their Big 12, first year in the Big 12. yet they found a way to win this game. So I'll give PJ credit on that one where credit is due. In the Pac-12, Washington defeated Utah, so I'm going to go ahead and circle that one for the both of us. And Arizona defeated Colorado by just a field goal. This Colorado team is really hard to figure out under Deion Sanders. Are they going to show up is the big question, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. So in this one they did, but they lost by a field goal. Going to the Georgia game, 52-17, he defeats the Lane Train. Speaking of Kirby Smart, who has the biggest buyout in the nation, his buyout is $92.6+ million, folks. That means if they want to fire him without cause before the end of his contract, they have to pay Kirby Smart almost $100 million. So craziness in that reality, but that is the reality. So when you think Jimbo Fisher's almost $78 million is a lot, look at what Kirby Smart has. And Alabama, we chose them over Kentucky, 49-21. We got that one correct. Missouri, we think Missouri is potentially a real team this year, a real consistent team, 36-7. Remember how people said Missouri doesn't belong and Vandy doesn't belong in the SEC? Well, Missouri is making a case for themselves this season that they very much not only belong in the SEC, but they belong in the nation's top 15. We got that one right. And LSU defeats Florida at home in Baton Rouge. They defeat Florida 52-35. So that means that PJ and I taking a look at this. PJ's 2-2, 3-2, 4, 5-2, 5-3, 6, 7-3, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 4. So PJ finishes the week with an 11-4 record. And I finished this week with 5 losses, so I'm 10-5. So nice, good reputation we continue to have here on our picks as I go 10-5, PJ goes 11-4. PJ, any thoughts, including about your Florida Go Gators in this past week?
Oh, this is awful, Daniel. This is awful. I don't know what to say other than to say that they're just not the team that I thought they would be. Florida has, in recent history, has gone through coaches, Jim McElwain, Bill Musgrave, Urban Meyer, Mullins, and then they bring in Napier, who's supposed to be the guru of recruiting and everything like that. Well, he needs some help with X's and O's. His defense is porous. On top of this, they've lost 3. That's 3. THREE. Top 4-star picks in the last week on recruiting trail. One flipped to Auburn, one flipped to Tennessee, the other one flipped to Georgia. Now, the Gator Nation looks at this, and Florida is perennially one of the bigger teams in the nation every year, except for the guys that I named who couldn't get out of their own way with a good team. Now Napier's trying to battle with an inferior team, but he's got a good recruiting class. I don't know what to say, other than I think I hope that the hierarchies at Florida, you be a little patient and say, look, they're going to lose to Missouri and they're going to lose to FSU. They start off 5-2. They're going to wind up 5-7, 5-7 instead of 6-6. They beat Missouri. They go 6-6. They go to a bowl. Big deal. They lose in a bowl. They can't beat Florida State. So if you're a bull gator, I mean, a bull gator is a person that spends a lot of money on the school and donates a lot of school. You're saying, hey, I'm not happy with this. You gave the guy 2 years. I'm sorry. It ain't going to work.
Yeah.
So listen, we'll buy you out. The bull gators will buy you out. That's been done before in Florida. The guys with a lot of money will give it to the university and say, here, pay the guy, get rid of him, bring someone else in. That's not unheard of in Florida. So, well, I'm a little pissed, obviously, but it's just part of football. I mean, you go through these ups and valleys and peaks and valleys. We know that FSU went through a lot of valleys before they brought Mike Norvell in. Now Florida's going through the same valleys that FSU went in. So I'll see what happens. I'm not happy about it, but I'll certainly cheer him on. I'm not gonna select him this week, because I'm a fair weather friend. I'm not gonna pick him just because I love him. I mean, they can't win in Missouri. They can't win at FSU. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it's definitely been a tough time, but it begs the question of, the SEC, and are their expectations too high, right? Giving a coach 2 years, a year and a half, 3 years. In Jimbo's case, he got more time, but his time clock was that time clock started ticking toward his demise, and I knew it, and I wrote that article about it, and I implore you all to check it out. Definitely go onto wakeupcalldt.com. Read all of our articles are there. They're free to read, so have some fun with it. But go and read those articles and give me your thoughts, because I have covered Jimbo Fisher. I've spent time with Jimbo Fisher. I've interviewed Jimbo Fisher many, many times. And I wrote a story called Jimbo's a No-Go for Texas A&M's Future, and broke down exactly, the fact that I saw this coming. This is something that I saw coming when he got hired, because if you get hired to the SEC, and number one, if you're getting hired to the SEC, then that means that there's a team that's struggling. Most of the time, you're not getting hired to a good team. You're getting hired to a team that's struggling. Alabama's not changing their coach. Georgia's not changing their coach. But everybody else, those coaches are open to be changed. And their expectations, to me, from the outside looking in, are, if you come into our league, you have to defeat Georgia, Alabama, or both. You have to win an SEC championship, and you have to go for a national title. If you don't do that, you could get fired in a very short amount of time. 2 years, 3 years. In Jimbo's case, a few more than 3 years, but still, he beat a ranked team every season that he's coached there, except for this past season. He has defeated Alabama when they were ranked number 1 in the country. He's won 8 straight games in a year that they went 9-1, which was the COVID year. This man has made no excuses, and the team has been competitive, and they've had a winning record. So my question to you is, why fire Jimbo Fisher when he's done something that some coaches have never done in the history of their lives, which is beat Alabama? And there's some teams inside of the SEC that haven't beat Alabama in many, 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 many years. So to see Jimbo get fired for all of this is not necessarily Jimbo being a bad coach. It's that the SEC has expectations that I don't think many coaches will ever meet if you're not named Nick Saban or Kirby Smart. Heck, Lane Kiffin isn't even meeting these.
Well, it's an interesting story, and you wrote a good story on that. And I was surprised to see that he was let go. I thought maybe they'd wait till the end of the year. For some reason, these guys look at a lot of people in the country don't understand the monies that go into these programs. Not just for the football coach, the football program, where they have their own locker room, they have their own weight room, they have their own practice facility. These guys practice indoors before they go outdoors. I mean, it costs a lot of money to do this, and there's a lot of money out there in Texas, just like there is in Florida. So I wouldn't be surprised if the pressure is put on the president and say, listen, we're not happy with Jimbo. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. I don't care if he beats Alabama 10 times as well. He's not beating the teams he should beat. So, and then they listen to him. They said, well, listen, what does it take? Okay, we'll give you $50 million toward that to buy him out. You cover the rest. And then you got a deal, I'm not sure that happens at Texas A&M, but in some schools do that. The big boosters, they throw a lot of money around. And if they don't like something, they're going to say, listen, if something I don't like in my business, I get rid of that person. Same thing here. So Jimbo Fisher's a good coach. He's a good X and O coach. He's a good talker. You know that, Daniel? He talks a good game. He's a good recruiter. He talks a good game. But I guess he didn't win enough. I agree with you. I think he should have stayed at Florida State, and they would have had a statue with him. But there's other guys that look at the guy at Arkansas. Didn't even last a season. One season he didn't even last. He got rid of him.
Yeah. Sorry.
The game, the polls are open, and the fans can vote. You know, and who do you put in these places? Now, you're correct in saying that the SEC is a lightning rod for controversy, and justifiably so, because the expectations that they have are they should be in line with other big conferences. But no, they're arrogant and they're obnoxious, and they say we are the best conference, which I agree with, but that doesn't mean you got to be arrogant and obnoxious about it. And with that being said, you go out and try to find an arrogant, obnoxious coach if you want to. Lane Kiffin is a perfectly example of that. He's a good coach, but he's arrogant and obnoxious, and he rubs people the wrong way. But he's a good coach. But when he starts leaving, his ass is out the door. So there's going to be some more changes probably in the SEC, and the country is wide open now for coaches that may want to come in and try this hamburger masher of the SEC. You're right. If you don't win, boy, you're out the door. And, you know, Nick Saban is probably going to lose 2 games this year. Kirby Smart, I'm not sure he's going to lose any, but if he does, he's only going to lose 1. So, you know, those guys are still solid. But do you think Alabama's going to be happy with 2 losses? Hell no. And the same with Georgia. The expectations are too unreasonable for these guys.
Yeah.
And it's just a meat grinder for these guys. And it's got to grate on their psyche, got to grate on their family, got to grate on their recruits. Look at what happened to Florida. Is not even firing their coach yet, and 3 4-star recruits have already left the recruiting program. It's a tough game, Daniel. A tough game.
It is. In the SEC, it's only tougher. Looking at the coaching carousel, Jimbo Fisher, who we spoke about, let go with 2 games to play in the season. Mel Tucker fired for what Michigan State considers cause, and Pat Fitzgerald was fired for what Northwestern also considers cause in the hazing issue that was going on at Northwestern. Andy Avalos was let go after 10 games at Boise State. His record in 3 seasons is 22-14. To put that into perspective, Dino Babers' record, I believe, is 42-54, and he has his job 8 seasons in, where Andy Avalos had a winning record in 3 seasons and he was fired. Brady Hoke retired at San Diego State, and the other job is one in the SEC as well. Zach Arnett. Interesting story for those of you that go, that name sounds familiar, Dan. Why does it sound familiar in Central New York? Well, Zach Arnett was hired to be Syracuse's defensive coordinator. And before the plane had cooled down, before he coached a practice, Zach Arnett was named Syracuse's defensive coordinator under Dino Babers and left before he even was on campus, before they even put his name on the door. So Zach Arnett decides to make a move, and then he makes another move, and that move that he made was to Mississippi State, and in less than a full season, they have fired him at Mississippi State after posting a 5-6 record. So kind of ironic how he gave his word to Syracuse and left Syracuse before he even got here, and the Mississippi State gave their word to him and let him go before he could even finish the season. So interesting how all of that works out. I hope the best for Zach Arnett, but what can he say? He gave up on a team before the season started, and now a team has given up on him before the season has ended. Interesting how all that shakes out, but never wishing bad on anybody. I hope Zach Arnett finds his way and finds his place, and apparently it was never going to be Syracuse. So, with that being said, we'll take a step aside for a fast break. For the first time ever, you will hear a word from the Nutrition Wave in Cicero and North Star Nutrition in North Syracuse, 2 locations that now carry my drink called the Mic Drop. You'll hear from them, and then you'll hear from PJ and I as we make our college football Week 12 picks and jump into the NFL right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox.
If I had to describe it, I would like to say welcoming and kind of homey. Like, I feel home when I'm here.
Here's a special message from North Star Nutrition in North Syracuse and Nutrition Wave in Cicero on their very unique shakes and teas.
I always ask them, are you looking for a shake or a tea? Like, are you hungry or do you need a little bit of a pick-me-up? And then from there, I normally gear it towards whichever they prefer. So I say we offer full meal replacement shakes. They're 24 grams of protein, 21 vitamins and minerals. So the vitamins and minerals in that shake make it a full meal. And you'll stay full for about 4 or 5 hours. And if they want a tea, then I'll tell them that there's either 115 to 200 milligrams of caffeine. I would compare it to maybe 2 cups of coffee, and I explain all the benefits that are in the tea. Like, they have B vitamins to sustain your energy all day long. They have a tea for mental clarity and focus. They have a thermogenic tea to help boost your metabolism, burn calories. Aloe is great for nutrient absorption and digestion. And I say there's other flavors in it for the pretty colors and flavors. I always ask them, like, what's your favorite lollipop flavor? And then I'll go from there, and I'm like, well, believe it or not, there's less than 1 gram of sugar, and it's good for you. It's only 15 to 20 calories, depending on if you get more or less caffeine. The shakes, I say it's like your favorite candy bar or your favorite ice cream, because you've had them. It genuinely does not taste like a regular protein shake. This was the first yes that I've ever given, because I've always been like too shy or too scared to like talk to people or anything, and this just kind of really opened me up. I've stayed here so long because I just love seeing everybody's faces, having them like sit down at the bar and just telling us little tidbits about their life. You really have no idea what's going on in other people's life, and I feel like this job specifically really puts it into perspective and just kind of helps you enjoy other people's presence. As like a young adult and as a person, I have learned so much working here. Like, to me, it's way more than just shakes and teas.
For healthy drinks that taste amazing in a welcoming atmosphere, head to North Star Nutrition on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse and Nutrition Wave on 6197 State Route 31 in Cicero. Open 7 days a week at each location. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You just heard from North Star Nutrition and Nutrition Wave, two of our newest partners here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and the two locations where you can get the exclusive mic drop. Pomegranate, blueberry, blackberry, strawberry, and watermelon all mixed into one healthy tea. And you can get that 7 days a week at both locations. North Star Nutrition on 628 South Main Street, North Syracuse, New York. And right down the road at Nutrition Wave on 6197 State Route 31 in Cicero, New York. So make sure you get out to either one of those locations today and order the mic drop. I'm telling you, folks, it looks cool. It tastes even better. And it's a healthier option for you. So make sure you go out there and get yourself the mic drop today. And they get to mic drop on their anniversary. Customer Appreciation Day happens tomorrow, and I'm excited to be a part of that as well on Friday, November 17th. So we're back here with Papa Joe, and so happy that you're here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and beyond that, under promise, over deliver. So we got some more college football and NFL to get into. PJ has something that he wants to discuss, and he asked, can we go here? And I said, sure, why not? So, PJ, take it away.
Well, I follow recruiting an awful lot because really that's the backbone of these college football teams. And as I mentioned a couple times earlier, that if you don't have a good recruiting class, you're not going to be competitive. And the Gators have lost 4 stars in 1 week because of their poor record. Now, I did some research on Syracuse. I pulled them up and I look at their lineup and I look at their recruiting class, and I see that they have 1 recruit from New York State. I'm thinking, how can that be? I mean, you have New York City, you have Albany, you have Syracuse, you have Buffalo, you have Rochester, major cities, major metropolis with big-time football programs in the city leagues, and they can only get 1 recruit from New York?
Yeah.
I don't get it. And then I look at New Jersey, they got 6 coming from New Jersey. Why the hell can't they get them from New York? What do you got to go to New Jersey for? I don't get it, Daniel.
Well, and here is, and it goes back to my conversation with Bobby Acosta in hour number 1. When Bobby was here as an assistant coach, he has ties to New Jersey. He grew up loving Syracuse, watching Syracuse. Bobby wanted to coach at Syracuse. Bobby has connections with the Northeast and New Jersey. They don't utilize that. Bobby's no longer on the staff. Scott Schaefer's staff moves on, Bobby being a part of that. And here we are today. Syracuse does not recruit the state of New York. Buffalo does. Boston College does. UConn does. Wherever Steve Adazio is, he does. Heck, Nick Saban has before with Alabama. But Syracuse does not recruit Central and Upstate New York, and typically not the state of New York in general. Now, in the past, they did. In the past, Jay Bromley, New York City area. There are some guys that they'll reach out to. And people will say to me, well, Dan, you've banged the drum that they should recruit the state of New York, and they recruited Sire Torrance, and he committed and he decommitted. And I would answer you back like this. Why would Sire Torrance want to play for a team that keeps regurgitating the same old song and dance? Why would he want to play for a staff that keeps doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? Why would he do that? Why would he, as a defensive back, want to come here? And people say, well, look at all the guys that have been drafted. Right. But when he's being recruited by the Big Ten and other places, he's got a better shot of being a higher draft pick. And if he wanted to play wide receiver, which he plays that in high school as well, why would you come to Syracuse? They don't throw the ball. So this is the issue that we're faced with. This is the issue that we're faced with. Now, Greg says New York is not the hottest bed for D1 football recruiting, at least on the national level. Certainly some Northeast schools recruiting New York. Hard to see Southern schools recruiting New York unless they're 5 stars. They're rare in New York. But here's the thing, too. I think they're rare in New York because people don't come up here. See, there's a notion that the star system is flawed, and you'll never see it on my website the way that it is in other places because of the fact that it is flawed. If you are a strong athlete and you get out to a bunch of camps, there is the argument that if you're a really good football player and you have the money to travel all over the place to go to camps, you're going to increase your star rate. If you come from the right name school, you're going to increase your star rate. If you come from the South, you can increase your star rate. But if you're from the North and you don't have the money to travel and you can't get out to all these camps and your team's not consistently winning sectional titles and state titles and people aren't even paying attention, even if you are winning sectional and state titles, there's something to be said about that. Now, my argument for CBA, my alma mater, is CBA they're vying for a state title this year. They have been in sectional championship games, won sectional championship games, fought toward state titles in the past and now more recently. And we see more than 20 schools coming into Syracuse, New York now to specifically go to CBA. And why is that? Well, they've had the talent, but they're winning more. They're winning state titles. So now, if you're going to look at New York State and you look at who has won state championships, you go, oh, okay, CBA. Who's won sectional championships? Oh, okay, CBA. Who's undefeated right now? Oh, okay, CBA. So that makes sense for them to go to those places. I'm not saying that a New York quarterback is going to beat out a Texas quarterback in recruiting. I'm not saying that because more often than not, it's not going to happen. I'm not saying a New York wide receiver is going to beat out a Florida wide receiver because in most cases, that's not going to happen. But to the people that have tried to drag my good name through the mud by saying that I was crazy that Syracuse should take anybody from the state of New York, they misquoted me. Big surprise in the world we live in today. I did not say take 100 players from the state of New York. I said you can't afford to take 3. You can't afford to take 1. You can't afford to put somebody on your roster. Think about it. Syracuse historically, when they have given New York State kids a chance, kids that have 1 star, no star, 3 star, 2 star, what have those kids done with those chances? What did Riley Dixon do with his chances? He's in the NFL right now. What did Mackie McPherson do with his chances? Told that he could never play center, he was too small. He had 3 seasons of his 4 seasons where he had a 1,000-yard back rush behind him. When you give people a chance from the state of New York, what did Jay Bromley do being a one-offer kid whose only offer came from Syracuse at the 11th hour? He was drafted in the 3rd round and went and played in the NFL for multiple years. What are guys doing from the state of New York that you're giving a chance to? Latavius Murray comes from the state of New York, and where has he been? In the NFL for how long? A really long time. Running backs typically last how long? 2.5 years. He's eclipsed that many times. This man is going toward playing closer to 10 years than playing 2.5. And where did he come from? Onondaga County, the county that I was born in. So when we're having these conversations, Dorsey Levens, where did he come from? Nottingham, down the road from CBA. What did he do? Win a Super Bowl. The state of New York has talent. The belief that there is no talent in the state of New York deserving to be on a Division I school, you know who doesn't believe that? Other Division I schools. Syracuse might not believe it, but the Big Ten believes it. Rutgers believes it. Big East believes it. Or pardon me, I say the Big East. Rutgers believes it. I meant Boston College. I was thinking about the old Big East. Boston College believes it. Steve Adazio, no matter where he's been, he believes it. UConn believes it. Syracuse may not believe that there's talent here, but other schools will take that talent. And one of the biggest slaps in the face of Syracuse happened within the last 2 weeks. And I don't know if you guys saw it. I don't know if you witnessed it, but I'm going to tell you if you didn't. Boston College came into Syracuse and smacked Syracuse. Boston College is not a great team this year, but they played Florida State tough, and they beat a really bad Syracuse team. Not because the players aren't playing and not because they're not trying, but this regime, it's not working. What did Boston College do before they beat Syracuse? I'm so glad you asked. They came into the city, went into Syracuse's backyard, and offered the players that Syracuse wasn't offering. Boston College beat Syracuse twice that weekend because Jeff Hafley came in with his staff, gave offers to student athletes in Syracuse, New York, and then they went into the Dome and beat them. That should say something to you right there. Adazio's not in Boston College anymore. Hafley is. He recruited Syracuse, offered them the day before and hours before the game, gave kids in the community Boston College offers, and then went into the Dome, beat Syracuse, and said to those kids probably, not only did we offer you and they didn't, but we just beat them, so you should come play for us.
That's amazing. That statistics is amazing. I'm stunned. I don't know what, I only looked up 1 year or a couple of years, but you got a lot of history with it, and you're exactly right. I mean, there's no reason why. The only thing I can say about the recruiting is that when you recruit the South, you're always recruiting speed, and for some reason, the recruiters or the colleges or whatever, the gurus that do this 3, 4, and 5-star junk, they're saying maybe the Northern players aren't as fast. Well, maybe not. They probably aren't, but that doesn't mean they're not good football players. So Syracuse got to get with the program.
Yeah, and I put it to you like this. You don't want to do it because you think it won't work. Well, what you're doing right now isn't working. So I will tell Syracuse University football program this. If you continue to lose and not have local kids and Northeast kids, people will continue to leave the Dome. But if you recruit talented, not just anybody, not just to pack the seats. I'm not a pack the seats type of guy for any means necessary. If you find talent, which other people are finding in your backyard because you're not paying attention or you just don't care, if you give offers to these kids and your team loses, those families are not going to leave the Dome because those are their kids. They're not going to walk out on their own kids. So all I have to say to Syracuse is simply this. You don't think that that's a high enough caliber kid, but you are losing games. So if you've consistently lost every year except for one under Dino Babers, maybe, just maybe, if you try something different, which is recruit locally, you're going to see an uptick in the community, an uptick in sales. You're going to see kids excited, and the kids are going to work really hard because this is what Syracuse doesn't understand as a university. These kids have grown up wearing your shirts. They go to your games. They come to the Dome. They wear orange all the time. They have grown up being Syracuse fans because it's their hometown school. And when you don't look at them and you don't offer them and they're getting offers from other places and they're saying, why does Oregon want me but my own hometown doesn't want me? Why does Buffalo want me? Why does Colorado want me? Why does Nick Saban want me in Alabama? Why does UCF want me, but nobody wants me here? Why did Rutgers, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Indiana, why did they want me? They grew up wearing your colors. If you come to their practice, if you go to their games, if you give them an offer, if you sit down with them, if you look at their film, if you tell them what they're doing wrong and tell them how to get better, these kids have loved you their entire lives. Their entire lives. If you don't offer these kids, they will not hate you now. They will hate you forever. They will not build their family here. They will not tell their kids to wear Syracuse gear. They will take their gear and give it to Goodwill. That's what's going to happen. They're going to give it to Goodwill, which is a great thing to do, and I suggest everybody does it, and I actually have to make a trip myself to Goodwill and to the church. But I'm going to be very clear with you about something. Syracuse, I'm not asking you to recruit kids that are not good. I'm asking you to recruit kids that other people are recruiting. I'm asking you to recruit kids and give opportunities to people that are benefiting off of the fact that you don't care. And if these kids who have grown up their entire lives wearing the color orange, if you kill that, you're going to kill your tickets down the road, your sales down the road. You're going to kill their family wanting to go to that school down the road. Parents in Central and Upstate New York should not be wearing Indiana gear, Rutgers gear, Iowa gear, Alabama gear. But why are they wearing that? Because they wore Syracuse and you spit on their kid. So they're not going to wear it anymore. They're going to cheer for where their kid goes. Stevie Scott's family's wearing Indiana red because that's where he went. So let's call it what it is. You not recruiting these kids doesn't hurt you now. It hurts you forever. And why is Syracuse losing and continuing down the same path? Do something different. I would rather Syracuse lose with kids that are good enough to play D1 here than see Servassier Dennis go to Pittsburgh, get linebacker of the week multiple times in the ACC, win an ACC championship, play in a New Year's Six Bowl, but Syracuse never gave him an offer. He wasn't good enough at linebacker. Really? Why is he in the NFL right now? So let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. If I got recruited by everybody but my hometown, that would put me in a place for the rest of my life with my hometown school that would be really, really dirty. And I probably would be making a trip this morning with a bag full of orange gear, throwing that right into the Goodwill bin. Don't let it happen, Syracuse. But this regime seems all too fine with letting all these kids go. So Jeff Hafley, I give you credit, because you mic drop Syracuse. You beat Syracuse in recruiting and in a game in the same weekend. One of them is because Syracuse wasn't good enough on the field. The other one is that they're not good enough in recruiting. And they can control that recruiting one, and they can turn the tide on that. That doesn't have to do with wins and losses. They choose not to be better in recruiting, and so they've chosen to fail. And fail they have in a mighty way. Syracuse, Central and Upstate New York, State of New York, I got your back forever. I'm not saying take every kid, but I'm saying you can't find me one kid out of the thousands that live in this state. You can't find one person that's capable. If you tell me that doesn't exist, then why is the entire state of New York even playing football? Shut up, do better, and make my city proud. If you don't, I will. And if there's a coach out there that actually gives a darn about my city, please, oh please, make a phone call, because we need somebody that cares enough about these kids. And when I see over 20 schools go to my alma mater, 20 plus schools go to Christian Brothers Academy, schools in the Carolinas going to Christian Brothers Academy. Why am I not hearing more about Syracuse? Syracuse could drive a tricycle from the Dome to CBA. These people are getting on planes, coming to visit Syracuse, taking direct flights, taking flights that have a connection, taking 5-hour trips, 10-hour trips to come to Syracuse. But the coaching staff from down the street can't ride a tricycle or a skateboard to come see everybody. I know Dino and the staff have tried to do better, but it could be too little too late, because Boston College just beat you again. And that's something that should never happen in Syracuse, and Coach Pasqualoni would have never let that happen, nor would Coach Mack, nor would Ben Schwartzwalder. Where did Ernie Davis come from? Elmira. If Ernie Davis was a player right now, Dino wouldn't recruit him, because he's from Elmira. That is a problem. Thank you, PJ, for getting me going this morning.
Yeah, well, I knew that you would have an opinion, a strong opinion, I may add, but you're justifiable in saying that, and you say it consistently. The message has always been the same, but apparently it goes on deaf ears. Yeah. So let's talk about what we're going to pick up now.
So and Mary T is sitting there going, Daniel's saying it and he's saying the truth, but noon's coming up quick and I want to make a sandwich. So let's take a look at this right now. We've had a bunch of games played already. Thanks to the What'd you say?
Mary T's laughing.
Yeah, love you, MT. I miss my MT sandwiches. Got to get one soon. So Tuesday, I miss my I do. I feel like I haven't been to Disney in forever. I got to come down and see my family. I got to see my big brother, see what's going on with him. We got a movie to go see as well, hopefully. Looking at college football, what I love about college football in certain conferences is that they're willing to play early. So we have football every day of the week. We have the NFL on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. We have college football on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So there's not a day of the week without football. And so there's a bunch of games that have already been played. One game's coming up tonight. We might as well mention it because it's a game versus two teams that recruit Syracuse better than Syracuse. Boston College at Pittsburgh. Two coaches that have recruited Central New York better than anybody in the last 8 years plus at Syracuse. So let's call this the battle of the two schools that actually see value in Central New York. Boston College at Pittsburgh. What do you have, PJ?
I'm going to take Boston College.
Yeah, and for this one, for me, I'm probably going to take Boston College as well. Pittsburgh, listen, I'm so proud of Dan Villari. I love his faith in God more than anything else, and I love our relationship and our bond. He did whatever he had to do to win this game. I'm surprised that Pittsburgh, as good as their defense has been in the past and as good of a coach as I think Pat Narduzzi has been, they didn't have an answer for this, and I was surprised because Syracuse was very one-dimensional, and they fumbled the ball a lot, and Pitt just looked awful. So Boston College, they haven't looked great, but they've looked good enough, and they still got a shot to, well, they are bowl eligible, by the way, folks. They got a shot to end the season 8-4. So already a better record than Syracuse, no surprise. And they're 6-4 right now. I'm going to go with Boston College to be 7-4. Next game up that we have here, we got games on Thursday, games on Friday, all over the place. Guess who's going to be on Friday? Look at me, man. Then look at him. We win it every day. Sunglasses inside and sombrero hats on the top. Cowboy hat, I should say, not sombrero hat. Colorado is playing Washington State on Friday night. It's at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. So some of you might be up to watch Dion and the crew. Papa Joe, I can tell you for certain, will be sleeping. But PJ, what are your thoughts?
Colorado, Washington State?
Yes.
Well, I didn't have that one on my list, but I can tell you right now, I'm just going to take Washington State.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna. This is a tough one for me because they're both unranked and their records aren't phenomenal. Washington State is 4-6, Colorado is 4-6, and they're the two worst teams in the conference. They're at the bottom of the Pac-12, both 4-6 overall, both 1-6 in the conference. Somebody has to win this game. And PJ says Washington State, and I'm going to actually go with Neon Dion here, and I'm going to say Colorado. I'm going to watch some of this game on Friday night. I will stay up to watch some of it. And I'm going to go with the Colorado Buffaloes to get the win. Now, Greg gave us a funny statement here, and I want to shout it out because he'll give me a list of games that he wants to hear of and he hopes that we talk about from week to week, but he worded it differently this time. And so I want to get to how he worded it. And let me see where it is here. He said, because I want to get his exact words, he said that he had a list for us this week, but instead of just simply saying that he had a list for us, he said that like per the Vegas line, these are the games that he would like to present to us. Greg, for some reason, because we've gotten so many messages today, the list isn't up here. So if you can resend us the list, please do so that I can actually see the list that you have. But he sent it to us in a funny way. Now, Alabama's playing a cupcake team because it's the second to last game of the regular season, and that's what the SEC does. Or if you're the Big Ten, you just call it the whole season. So the Big Ten's been eating cupcakes every week, which isn't good for you. Alabama gets to eat a cupcake this week when they play Chattanooga. We're not going to go to that game, but we will go to this one. Michigan is playing at Maryland. Maryland is unranked, so people will argue with me, Dan, they're a good team. They're so good. They're 6-4. Well, if Syracuse was 6-4, they wouldn't be ranked. And 6-4 is one step above being 500. It's not great. It's a bowl team. But see, people try to make arguments as to why the Big Ten has such high rankings by saying they're beating teams with winning records, but there's a lot of teams that beat teams with winning records that never get mentioned. So Maryland is 6-4, Michigan is 10-0, and Michigan has played one ranked team. Papa Joe, Maryland at Michigan, Michigan at Maryland. What do you have?
I would love to see Maryland play a terrific game. I would love to see them stick it to them, but they're just not as talented. I mean, I don't know Maryland's team that well. I don't know if they have any gimmicks they can play. I don't know if they run the ball that well or throw the ball. But the same with any good team like Michigan, you got to keep them off the field. Yeah. So Maryland, if you got a running attack, use it, buddy. But you're not going to beat. I like Michigan.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Michigan in this game as well. You know, I know that, and I want to be clear about this. Me saying Michigan is not one of the top 4 teams in the country is not me saying that they're not a good team. It's not me saying they don't have talent. It's me saying they're not a top 4 team in the country. It's as simple as that. There's over 130 spots in the country. So if I say they're not in the top 4, I'm not condemning them. I'm not saying they're not in the top 15, but I'm saying they're not in the top 4. I do think they're better than Maryland, though, and I'm going to pick them to win this game. Penn State has been a team to me that has been, they've been kind of all over the place. I thought that they were going to be competitive. They were competitive against Michigan. They lost by 9. They were competitive against Ohio State. They lost by 8. They played the Ohio State game on the road, Michigan at home. So I'm looking at some of these games and I'm saying to myself, I think Penn State's a pretty good team. But then I'm looking at Rutgers and I'm going, yeah, but the second coming of Greg Schiano, that's pretty darn good too. So Rutgers is playing up against Penn State, and Penn State's going to be at home. What do you have, PJ?
Well, I think about the same way as you do about Penn State. They are a good team. They're probably one of the better teams in the Big Ten. Certainly, they're on the par with Michigan and Ohio State, even though they lost to them. But I think they should win this game rather easily.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State, for me, I'm going to pick Penn State to win this game, too. I would love to see Rutgers make this close. And, again, Rutgers is in a better place than Syracuse. Well, think about it like this. Look at all the Big East teams. Penn State, Rutgers, Maryland, all better than Syracuse. Boston College, all better than Syracuse. The only one that's not of these schools that has, that don't get the national exposure right now is Pitt. But and Buffalo, but all these other schools have been better than Syracuse. They're all bowl eligible. So I'm going to pick Penn State in this one, but I really hope, I'm going to watch this game. I mean, I hope that Rutgers makes it interesting. I'm going to skip the SEC because this is the cupcake week, and I'm going to skip most of their games unless there's anything that stands out to me. I do want to hit this one, PJ, because Tulane doesn't get the love they deserve. They're ranked 24th in the nation, but they're 9-1. They won the Cotton Bowl earlier this year at the end of last season. I was there. They beat Caleb Williams and USC in front of my face. Yet, people don't want to talk about Tulane. They're on an 8-game winning streak. They're 9-1. The only team they lost to is Ole Miss, 37-20 at home. And Ole Miss was ranked 25th in the country at the time, or 20th in the country at the time. Now, Tulane has not played any ranked teams, so 9-1 would have gotten them in the top 10 if they were in the Big Ten. But they're in the American Athletic Conference, so they don't get ranked high because they have the same type of schedule as Ohio State and Michigan, but they're not named Ohio State or Michigan. So they're playing Florida Atlantic on the road. Do you think that Tulane trips in this game, or do they beat FAU?
I think Tulane. I've been following Tulane. They're a good team. You're right. They're going to be They're going to be tough in a bowl game. I guarantee you that. And I think they should win tonight easily.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tulane as well in this matchup. I think Tulane's too much, and I don't think that they get enough respect. And I always go back to the conversation that I had so many years ago when Willie Fritz came into Tulane, and somebody stood next to me and said to me, they said, Dan, you see that guy over there? And they pointed to Willie Fritz. They said, that man has won everywhere he's been. Watch him win here. It's going to be no different. And they were right. Tulane keeps on winning. And I love it because I'm a big fan of Willie Fritz, and I love everything he's doing. So many interesting games here this week, and when I say that with a chuckle because of some of the teams that are going up against each other. It's hard to find a lot of great ones. There are some really good, well, I should say this. There are some good games, and there is an SEC game that we're going to get to that is going to be really good. And there's an ACC one that's got a little backdrop here. But let's go to Utah at Arizona, PJ. Arizona's taken a long time since they've been ranked in the nation's top 25, let alone the top 20. By the way, Arizona was the first to offer a kid from Central and Upstate New York who during COVID transferred to a school in Arizona. In Arizona, the Wildcats were his first offer. He got offers all over the country. None of them were named Syracuse. So look at Arizona right now, top 20. Look at Syracuse, not in the top 25. And Daniel Booby Santiago, the defensive lineman who's playing for Holy Cross right now, he got offered from Arizona. And I just want to let that be heard because he's from upstate New York. I just want to add him to the long list of people every time somebody gives me crap about supporting the kids in my community, which I will always do. Arizona up against Utah. Your thoughts on this game as Arizona's at home and both teams are ranked in the top 25?
This is a good game. This is going to be a good game. I was leading to Arizona at home. But I think I'm going to stay with Utah. They've won some big games this year, and I like them.
And Greg said he did play in Arizona. Yeah, he played in Arizona, so Arizona got to see him, but the rest of the nation got to see him. And Army West Point in the state of New York offered him too from Arizona. So just to let that be known. Speaking of Daniel Booby Santiago, and what do we get from Greg here? Greg said, "I genuinely try to give you Vegas lines less than a touchdown spread to actually make you guys think about your pick." Oh, we think about all our picks. I can't speak for everybody, Greg, but we think about the things that come out of our mouth here. And he said, look at you guys picking Big Ten blowout games this week. That's right. That's right, Greg. See, this is the thing that I want Greg and people to know that hear me talk about the Big Ten. I'm not saying the Big Ten isn't a good conference. I'm not saying Michigan and Ohio State aren't good teams. I'm saying that they have an unfair advantage. They play crap schedules, and they get ranked way too high at the beginning of the season. And as long as they stay undefeated, they don't move because it's rigged to benefit the Big Ten. That's all I'm saying. If you can ever prove that wrong, which you can't with factual evidence, then I'd be happy to have the conversation. In the world today, people have facts, and people just, spin around like the Tasmanian devil and hope that people pay attention to them. Facts are going to defeat crap all the time. Michigan and Ohio State play a crap schedule. Until they stop playing a crap schedule and they play anybody of merit outside of their conference, and I know you're going to yell at me and say it was Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's not that good this year. And Notre Dame hasn't been good for a long time. If they were great, they would have kept their head coach in Brian Kelly. They're not good. You don't make a coaching change because you're good. So, and Notre Dame sent their last good quarterback to the NFL when? And if anybody says Sam Hartman, he came from Wake Forest. And that's you're welcome, Notre Dame, because they got him in the transfer portal. I'm really just stating an obvious fact. The Big Ten has good teams, good individual players, but they shouldn't be ranked this high. And other conferences don't get ranked this high for playing crap schedules. That's all I'm saying. The ACC plays the same crap schedule. North Carolina and Duke are not in the top 4. The Louisville plays a crap schedule this year. They're not in the top 4. That's all I'm saying. I'm stating facts. If you want to fight facts, then welcome to today's America, because people like to make crap up all the time now. Let's look at these games. PJ is going with Utah. I have chosen Utah in the past. I want to choose Utah right now. I'm going to choose Utah. But if Utah pisses me off again, I might not pick them again. But I'm going to go with Utah against. I'm just not sold that Arizona is a top 17 team right now. And I think that Utah is better than what people may think. I don't think a lot of people pay attention to Utah. They're 7-3. They're in the middle of the Pac-12, and they just lost to Washington, who I think is a better team than I would pick Washington over Ohio State or Michigan right now to make it in the top 4. So if I had to choose right now, and if Alabama wins out, we're going to have a conversation with PJ in a second about this. But if Alabama wins out, Alabama's going to be in the college football playoff, and I hope people understand that. So I'm going to pick Utah, because I think Arizona they're still a pretender to me until they change my mind. And maybe this week they change my mind. Here's a big-time game, PJ. Not every SEC team is playing a cupcake this week. Georgia, and look at what I said there, Greg. I said that other schools play cupcakes. It's just that the SEC doesn't do that all season long. They do it for a week or 2 or 3, but not for 12. Georgia at Tennessee, PJ. What do you got?
This is going to be a good game, too. Tennessee has the talent to win. The only problem I have is that Georgia's defense is just a little bit too tough, and they play so fast. Gosh, I can't ever say that enough about these Southern teams. And Tennessee is a very, very good team. Georgia's going to go all out. They're going to win this game, but they're going to know they won that game.
Yeah, and so for me, this is the thing that upsets me. We don't avoid the Big Ten altogether. Greg, go check the tape. I think we've talked about Big Ten schools every single week since the season started. I'm going to go with Georgia in this game, but I want people to fully understand that Tennessee was a couple trips away from making it to the college football playoff last year. I thought there was a time where they were the best team in the country. They're not the best team in the country this year. I would say it's Georgia, and I'm going to pick Georgia to win because of that. But I also think Georgia's still vulnerable. I think Georgia's vulnerable to Alabama in the SEC championship game. So I'm going to pick Georgia in this. I don't want to count Tennessee out. They're 7-3. They're having a good season. I mean, arguably they're going to end the season 8-4 because they play Vanderbilt after this week. So, not a bad season. And Josh Heupel, not a bad coach. And I spent time with him the whole time he was at UCF. But I'm going to pick Georgia just because I don't think Tennessee's as strong as they were last year. And last year they tripped up toward the end of the season. I don't see Tennessee beating Georgia in this one. This is a game that frustrates me because of the free agency that the transfer portal is. Wake Forest is playing Notre Dame. Notre Dame has Wake Forest quarterback in Sam Hartman. They got him in the transfer portal. Notre Dame hasn't had a good quarterback in eons. And when I say a good quarterback in eons and people want to prove me wrong, what quarterback in the last decade came from Notre Dame and made a consistent start in the NFL and led his team to the playoffs? I'll help you with that statistic. Nobody. I will help you with, you don't even have to look it up. Nobody. The time when Joe Theismann led that crew, it's been a long time. Long time for Notre Dame to translate to the NFL. But they have Sam Hartman now. So they have help. They have a really good leader. But they took him from Wake Forest. And Wake Forest has struggled this year without Sam. So this game makes me sad because if Wake Forest was going into South Bend right now against Notre Dame with Sam Hartman, the way that they've played the last few years under Dave Clawson with Sam Hartman, I would have picked Wake Forest. But there's no way I can. And I wanted to preface this by saying how sad I am that this even happened, that Wake Forest has to go up against their former quarterback. Thoughts, PJ?
Well, Notre Dame's going to win a game. But, and probably they're looking at the play of Hartman, and Wake Forest is trying to figure out, well, Sam does this, he does that, he does this, does that. So we may be able to beat him if he does this and that and this and that. I think he's too good of a quarterback to do that. And Notre Dame is to be very cautious here. They may not throw a lot, but they'll run a lot, and they should control the game.
And my question to everybody when you talk about the Big Ten and Notre Dame not having an unfair advantage, if you live in that world, which is a very fake world, but if you live in a fake world, we can talk about fake things, I guess. Notre Dame's still ranked in the top 15. They have 3 losses, and they just lost to unranked Clemson. Why are they still in the top 15? Why are they still in the top 25? Let's have that conversation, because that doesn't make any sense. But if you want to continue to believe that Notre Dame doesn't have an unfair advantage, just like the Big Ten, you're crazy, because they're ranked 15th in the nation with 3 losses and a recent loss to an unranked team. Why should they be in the nation's top 25? Why should they be in the nation's top 15? There's other schools deserving to be there, but Notre Dame is there. Why? Because of their name. Why is Michigan there? Because of their name. Why is Ohio State there? Because of their name. Play a good schedule, beat everybody, and we'll have a conversation. Until you do that, shut up. Next one up here that we have on here is, I'm not even going to that game, Oregon at Arizona State, PJ. I guess we can go here. Arizona State is 3-7. Oregon is ranked 8th in the nation, and they're playing on the road. But Oregon, I picked this game because Oregon's tripped up before. They're 9-1 this season. They've only lost to Washington, who was ranked 7th in the country at the time. And everybody else that they played has been unranked except for beating Utah, who was ranked 13th at the time that they beat 35-6. Does Oregon have any worries here against Arizona State on the road?
No, they don't. But I got a comment about Oregon. I've seen Oregon play a couple of times, and I saw them play Colorado earlier. And Oregon can move the ball quickly, very fast. They have very fast players. Frankly, I don't have a problem saying that Oregon would deserve to be in the Final Four because they play that fast and they play so many different players play fast. They score points. They do this. Oregon is a ball to watch, and no one wants to go up against a fast team like that. And I think that some of the Eastern schools would look at someone like Oregon and say, well, Oregon went after some SEC players and they got real fast, and we want to be fast too. But Oregon's got it made. I think they're number 6 or 7 in the recruiting classes this year. I guarantee they got the speed coming. Oregon is going to just kill them, kill Ohio State here, Arizona State. I don't see this being a game at all.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to go ahead and pick Oregon in this game as well. I thought that their potential trip-up game would be Utah, and that didn't happen. So for me, I'm going to go with Oregon to win this game as well. I'm not too worried about it. The Pac-12's got a lot of love from the AP, the College Football Playoff, and from the coaches poll. And maybe that's because they feel bad that the whole thing, the band isn't going to be back together next year. I don't know. But, you know, if one of these teams is a true contender, which I circle Washington right now, it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Another game that we're going to hit here, PJ, as I look up and down this list and look for games that could be enticing for us, because there are Florida State's playing North Alabama, for goodness sakes, this week. But let's go Washington at Oregon State. What do you got?
Washington is another very good team this year, and I think they got their credentials too to be in the top four. Washington and Oregon are no slouches. They play fast, they play good, and they score a lot of points. Washington did have a Heisman Trophy candidate in Penix, but he's slapped up a little bit. Speaking of Oregon's quarterback, Bo Nix is up there too as a Heisman Trophy quarterback, but they can't beat Oregon. They can't beat Washington this week.
And what has Washington done that every Big Ten school hasn't done? Beat 3 ranked teams this year. Say word, son. So I'm going to go with Washington in this game. I got Washington winning it here. You know, some people might consider this a trip-em game, but I am a firm believer. I'm becoming more firm by the moment, let's say. But I've come on to this because I wanted to see them play. I didn't want to just blindly pick somebody, as many do. I think that Washington, in my opinion, is potentially not a pretender, could be a contender this year in the college football playoff, arguably. So I like Washington in this game to win it. I think they're going to find their way to move forward. Next game that we have up here, PJ, is going to be, and I am just looking up, why did they not let Jimbo Fisher coach against Abilene Christian? I think that's a question I have for myself today, because that game's happening. But let's go to North Carolina at Clemson. North Carolina's ranked 20th in the country. They are 8-2. They're not what people thought they were necessarily going to be. The expectation was high for North Carolina. The media picked Clemson and Florida State to play in the ACC championship game, and half of that is right. Louisville right now would be playing if it ended today. So what are your thoughts on this? Louisville's got to play one more game in the ACC to get to their 8, and they're 6-1. North Carolina's got to play 2, including this one. And I think that when we look at North Carolina's schedule, did they play Louisville this year? They did not, because I was looking at tiebreakers here. If North Carolina goes 6-2 and Louisville goes 6-2, then they would have to look at other things beyond head-to-head to see who would make it there. But North Carolina's in 3rd in the ACC. Clemson is in the bottom 6 of the ACC, but they're playing in Clemson. What happens?
I don't care if Clemson's on the very bottom. They're going to win this game. Clemson showed a lot when they beat Notre Dame. And your man Dabo Sweeney down there is he's got a propensity to get up for these kind of games. He's going to have a few gimmicks. He's got a good defense this year. Offense is a little slow, but I think Clemson is a really good team now, as earlier they were not. And I think they win. They beat North Carolina here.
Yeah, I mean, you think that Clemson's going to win this game. So Clemson just defeated Notre Dame, mind you, folks, and North Carolina's lost to Virginia and Georgia Tech, 2 unranked teams back-to-back. Virginia's having a terrible season. They're in the bottom 2 of the ACC. Georgia Tech's having a pretty good season. They're a little bit above the middle here. So this is a tough game for me, because I want to believe that North Carolina is... well, let me put it to you like this. I think a lot of people were higher on North Carolina than I was. I think a lot of people were believing that North Carolina was going to be better than I thought they were going to be this year. And I don't think Clemson's a bad team. They beat Notre Dame, and they're 6-4. They've gotten 4 losses, but they're also not a team to mess with. And I'm going to go ahead and pick, because they're in Death Valley and because it's a North Carolina-South Carolina game, I'm going to go with PJ and I'm going to pick Clemson. And then I'm going to wonder what people are going to do with North Carolina, because I feel like they don't want to take them out of the top 25. But do you put Clemson in the top 25 with 4 losses is the question. So I'm going to have Clemson winning this game. Next game up that we have here, PJ, I want to make sure Greg gave us a little bit of a list. Greg's saying if we picked based on money lines, we would be incorrect a lot. There is no truth to that whatsoever. But thank you for the comment. I'm going to go to the next one here, saying that we pick games that have bigger lines and we have good records, stating that that's what gives us a good record is ridiculous, because there's been a lot of teams that have won games that they weren't supposed to win. Case in point, Oklahoma losing to UCF and Kansas losing to Texas Tech this past week. Let's take a look at this one, PJ. So I think we hit all of the games that... Okay, so that's the other one I wanted to hit. Kansas State and Kansas. I wanted to hit this game. So let's go Kansas State and Kansas and get your thoughts on that. Kansas State's 21. Kansas is 25. Kansas lost this past week in a game that we both thought they were going to win over Texas Tech. What are your thoughts?
I think Kansas bounces back this year. I like these kind of games. Kansas State, Florida State, that kind of game. I like Kansas in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kansas too. I'm not a believer in... I think Kansas State has played spoiler before. I don't think they're going to play spoiler in this game. And Kansas lost by a field goal in the last one. I think they'll find a way to win this one. Louisville is going to be going up against Miami, PJ, and then we'll get to our final 2 here. Louisville's on the road at Miami. Louisville is ranked number 10th in the country right now. They're 9-1. They're second in the ACC, behind only Florida State. They lost to Pitt this season on the road. They've beaten everybody else. And Louisville is one of those teams that has not played a ranked... Well, they played 2 ranked teams. And so they played Notre Dame, beat them, and they played Duke and beat them. They ended Notre Dame's streak against the ACC. Does Louisville win against now an unranked Miami?
Louisville wins this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Louisville in this one as well. And we're going to jump to the NFL here, so we're going to get this done quick here. I want to get to your Go Gators, and I want to get to Syracuse. We always end with those 2. So let's go to the Florida Gators game that they have this week, PJ. I know you're frustrated with your Gators, but the Florida Gators this week are going to be playing a game that I would imagine people are probably expecting them to win, and that is when the Florida Gators... Oh, pardon me. I was looking at Florida State. Pardon me on that one. Florida Gators are going to be on the road at Missouri. Missouri is ranked 9th in the nation, and Florida is unranked. What are your thoughts? I was looking at Florida State. My apologies. Florida at Missouri. What do you have for this?
Well, you probably heard my comments earlier about problems that Florida has and the coaching and everything. And I'm not an idiot when it comes to picking these things. And I just don't think that Florida can beat Missouri. I mean, Missouri is a very good team. And they deserve all the accolades that they can get. And I don't know how Florida wins this game. I mean, Graham Mertz has played a good game, a good quarterback coming from Wisconsin. I know my Bros weren't happy with him up there, but he's done a good job at Florida. Passed for over 3,000 yards, a lot of touchdowns. Florida's defense is so poor that they can try to outscore some teams like they tried to do with Louisiana State last week, but not going to make any difference. Missouri is favored to win the game and should win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Missouri in this one as well. I think Missouri is way too tough of a team, and so I'm going to go with Mizzou here to get the victory. I'm happy to see the way that they've been playing, which has been terrific to see that. I don't think anybody expected Missouri or Vanderbilt in recent history to have a season like Missouri's having. Final one here, PJ, Syracuse at Georgia Tech.
Well, I mean, Syracuse looked like a barnstorming team last week. I look at the statistics, and I'm seeing this guy pass for 60 yards and run for a bunch of yards. The team runs for almost 400 yards. So, I mean, that's a perfect kind of game plan that you want to do to keep the other team off the field. They better do the same thing again this year, because I don't know if they can beat Georgia Tech. But I'm going to go with Syracuse just because of what they did last week.
You're going to go with Syracuse. So, I mean, to me, I'm gonna have to say Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia Tech is in the top 6. Georgia Tech in the ACC. Georgia Tech has played better than Syracuse throughout the season. Maybe picking against Syracuse is what helps them win. I have no idea. I mean, I respect them. I appreciate them. Love the kids. Support them like crazy. I'm not happy with the way that things have been going, and I don't like the current state of the program, but at the same time, they gave me something to get really excited about when they played the way that they played against Pitt. So I'm going to go with Georgia Tech in this one just because I think Georgia Tech has more going into this game in their favor than Syracuse does, and I just don't trust Syracuse to win 2 of these games on the road here. Especially against a Georgia Tech team that's a lot better than I think anybody's giving them credit for. People are following this narrative that they're not a good team, and that's just because they're not paying attention. They're just following the narrative of what Georgia Tech has been the last few years, but not necessarily what they are anymore. So I'm going to pick Georgia Tech in this because I just think they're the better team between the two straight up. And Syracuse's gimmicky thing, I don't know if that is going to work against Georgia Tech. It might. It could, but I think Georgia Tech is the better team. I think Syracuse can win. I'm not going to put it past them that they can't, because Syracuse is that team that you should never bet against or bet for because you end up being wrong. But I think Georgia Tech's the better team, and they're playing at home. So I'm going to pick them. With that being said, PJ and I are going to do a quick shift to the NFL as we have gone well beyond our promised time here. And so let's go to the NFL quick. I'm going to run through our NFL scores and let you know how we did. So Chicago beat Carolina. PJ picked Carolina. I picked Chicago, so I got that one right. I will go to the next one here. Indianapolis played the Patriots in an awful game, 10-6 in Frankfurt, Germany. I'm sure the people in Germany want their money back, and I would understand that. And the euro costs more than the American dollar, so that would be more money than the NFL would want to pay. Houston defeated Cincinnati. Houston has just played themselves one heck of a season. They won 30-27. Shout out to Houston. Jacksonville's got to keep winning because Houston is on their heels, and Jacksonville cannot afford to lose another game the way C.J. Stroud and Houston are playing. Minnesota up against New Orleans. We both picked Minnesota. Speaking of New Orleans, famous Jameis is off this week. Famous Jameis.
The end of the game.
Yeah, he's off this week. Not going to be playing. Sad face, sad face. Pittsburgh beats Green Bay. We finally got one right when it came to the Green Bay games. Green Bay has been an enigma this year. Tennessee loses to Tampa 20-6. Tennessee has just really not been that great last year, and they haven't been that good this year, but they're playing Jacksonville, so Lord knows they'll probably try to play their lights out here, but we'll see what happens. We both picked Jacksonville in a game that I don't think anybody saw going 31 points in favor of San Francisco on the road, but San Fran won, and congratulations to them. Cleveland came back against Baltimore. Baltimore had not trailed this season for more than 28 minutes, I think it was, the entire season combined. And the closest team to them had trailed for over 80 minutes. Yet Baltimore lost this game 33-31. Deshaun Watson's out for the rest of the season. God bless to P.J. Walker, and hoping that my guy that I interviewed from Temple can continue to hopefully move this team in the right direction because they do have playoff hopes. Arizona defeats Atlanta. We both picked Arizona in that game. We got that one right. And then in the Chargers-Detroit game, I picked Detroit. You picked the Chargers. The Chargers haven't been able to stop people from scoring points, including Detroit on the road. Detroit wins 41-38 in a shootout. Dallas beats the Giants. Dallas has outscored the Giants 89-17 in 2 games. Gross. Seattle beats Washington, and that was a close game, a field goal game. PJ picked Seattle. I picked Washington, so I got that one wrong. Vegas beats the Jets. We both got that one right. And we picked Buffalo, who apparently can't count how many men are on the field, and they lost that game. So, looking at what we have right now, PJ here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses. So, PJ goes 7-7 on the week in the NFL, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I end up going 8-6. So, 8-6 for me, 7-7 for PJ. PJ, so let's jump right into this week in the NFL, PJ, and get your thoughts on what's happening. If you want to make any notes about what we've seen so far, including the Jaguars, we'll make it while we go. Cincinnati at Baltimore tonight. PJ, what do you got?
I don't think Baltimore trips up this year, this week. I like Baltimore at home.
Yeah, I got to go with the Baltimore Ravens as well. I feel like they are such a dangerous team, and a healthy Lamar Jackson makes this team capable of a lot of things, and I wouldn't count them out from anything right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Baltimore, although Joe Burrow, outside of the first couple of weeks where I think he was still healing, Joe Burrow has been pretty awesome. And the Cincinnati team is, 5-4. The record might not adequately show it, but, he looks more like Joe Burrow, where Baltimore is 7-3. I like the Ravens. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Cleveland not playing with Deshaun Watson. What do you got?
Cleveland would be favored to win this game with Watson. Tough to being out, but Pitt wins the game. But I think Cleveland is in a very difficult position. They have an awful contract with Deshaun Watson. I don't know who the hell put that thing together, but he should be fired. For what that kid went through in Texas, with all of the legal work that he did, the legal work problems that he had, and then Cleveland opens the bank to him to give him $200 million. Now they're stuck. What are they going to do with him? They can't play him this year anymore. I tried to move him, but that's not my problem. I like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh too. The only quarterback to ever get a fully guaranteed contract in the NFL. And to me, I ask the question, why? And I still ask it. He's done well this year, but now he's out again at a time where they're trying to make the playoffs. He's not going to play. And granted, injuries happen, but you look at how much they spent $230 guaranteed dollars on him. Is he worth it? Over the last 2 years, I would say no. He didn't play last season until week 11. And now he's gone in week 11. How ironic. So Pittsburgh's going to win this game, in my opinion. Cleveland's got to find a way to move on. Chicago at Detroit, PJ.
Detroit looked great last week, and I like them a lot. I like the way Goff is playing. Their coach is just a rah-rah guy. I just love the way Detroit's playing. Detroit.
Yeah, I got to go with Detroit because they're going in 2 different directions. Speaking of Chicago and Detroit, the Detroit Lions are a team that I told you would win the division at the beginning of the season, and I stay true to that. Los Angeles Chargers at Green Bay.
The Chargers at Green Bay. Well, I'm not going to pick Green Bay because I'm mad at them for what they did last year. Yeah. But I'm going to pick the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pick the Chargers too, PJ. Green Bay, I don't think that they can. Now, the Chargers give up a lot of points, but I don't think Green Bay can outscore them. So, Green Bay, if their defense shows up, but if it doesn't, Chargers all the way. Vegas Raiders at Raiders at Miami. What do you got?
This is going to be an ugly game. I think Tua is probably going to throw for 400 yards. An easy game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Miami in this one as well. I don't see Miami having trouble. Even if this game is 17-10, I still see Miami winning the game. Next game up we have here, the New York Giants at the Washington Commanders. Washington somehow found a way to lose the game up against New York earlier in the season, but I think New York is worse now. So what do you have, PJ?
Yeah, they're a terrible team. Danny Jones, of course, is hurting. But besides the point, Washington's playing good ball. I like Washington.
Washington has played every team close, win or lose, except for 2 games this season. They've been in games with some of the best teams out there, and I want to make a note of that. I said they would make it close against Seattle, and I picked them to win. They lost by a field goal. And I think Seattle's a pretty darn good team. I'm going to go with Washington as well because, I don't know, if they find a way to lose to the Giants twice, I don't think there's any way Ron Rivera comes back next year. Dallas at Carolina. Dallas has had a great season outside of the fact that they lost to Arizona on the road, which made no sense. Is there any chance that they lose to Carolina on the road to have another nonsense game?
No, they looked too strong last week. They were really, really strong last week. Dak Prescott is probably playing football as best as – that was the best game I've seen him play, frankly. Dallas should win this easily.
I'm picking Dallas too. I don't see Dallas having an issue or a trip up in this game. They just got to focus. Don't play down to the way that Carolina's playing. Tennessee at Jacksonville. Tennessee's not having a good season. Jacksonville just had the worst game of their season. Arguably, it was the Houston game, but giving up 31 points at home is by far one of the grossest things that they've done. I don't know why this defense allowed it to happen, and I don't know why the offense allowed it to happen. Jacksonville looked like a shell of themselves, PJ. What happens in this one?
Oh, geez. I mean, I got to pick Jacksonville, but I think the whole nation watched Jacksonville lay an egg last week. I mean, they were outplayed in all three phases. They had the better players on the field. They played faster. No answer for McCaffrey at all. Jacksonville was supposed to have the second best defense in the league. Brock Purdy picked them apart. I mean, what's good to say about it? I mean, even the special teams are awful. I don't know where it came from, but Pedersen's got to right the ship. He better do it this week.
This is a team that should have everything that they need to make the playoffs and win in the playoffs. They cannot afford to screw things up again. I don't know what the heck happened. Both teams had a bye week. San Fran came out winning off of a 3-game losing streak. Jacksonville went into the bye week on a 5-game winning streak, and they lost. Jacksonville's got to figure it out. They got to do it quick. If they lose this game and Houston wins, Houston will take first place in the division. That's how close it is. Arizona at Houston, and I don't think Houston's going to lose this week, by the way. Hence why I bring that up even more, because they're playing Arizona. What do you got?
Right. Oh, Texas easy here.
I got Houston as well against Arizona. I know Kyler Murray's back, but that doesn't matter to me. I think Houston's too good of a team. I think this team is in too good of a position, and I think that they are definitely a force to be reckoned with a lot sooner than people thought it was going to be in the C.J. Stroud era. Tampa Bay at San Francisco. PJ, what do you got?
Well, Baker Mayfield make this game close, but after watching San Francisco play last week and the way McCaffrey and Purdy played, George Kittle, my goodness, where'd he come from? And he's a good tight end, but gosh, San Francisco did it all last week, and they'll probably do it again this week too.
Yeah, I got San Francisco in this game as well. I'm not worried about their ability to get the job done by any stretch of the imagination, although Baker Mayfield has been a pleasant surprise, and I didn't think he'd be this good, and he has been, so credit to him because he's definitely caught my eye for sure. The Jets at Buffalo. Buffalo lost to the Jets in the first game of the season. Buffalo is that team that I don't suggest anybody putting money on right now. The Jets have scored, I believe, 8 touchdowns in 9 weeks or something like that. So what are your thoughts, PJ? The Jets come into Buffalo, and the Jets have a really good defense. They've already beaten Buffalo once, and Buffalo continues to find ways to beat themselves, including having a guy miss a field goal and having too many men on the field so he gets to kick it again. And Will Lutz in Denver win in Buffalo. Does Buffalo lose again to the Jets? Does Buffalo continue to make us all scratch our heads saying, what in the Sam hell is going on? Or does Buffalo win?
Buffalo's been a real enigma. I got to admit that. I don't see them losing this game. I mean, they had to fire their offensive coordinator. I mean, that's pretty drastic. And Josh Allen says, hey, listen, the offensive coordinator isn't losing the games. We're losing the games. I feel terrible about it. And he's right, because he's responsible for a lot of it. But it doesn't matter. I think that they win this game easy.
I'm going to pick Buffalo, but I'm on record saying I will have no surprise. My face will not change if Buffalo loses to the Jets again this season. I'm picking Buffalo, but absolutely no surprise if this game comes down to the last couple minutes in the fourth quarter. Seattle at Los Angeles Rams. What do you got?
I liked watching the Rams the other night on TV. It was fun. Bobby Hebert is just a. Oh no, that's the wrong guy. I wish that Hebert was playing for Rams. I like the Rams. I don't know what's happening with Matthew Stafford over there. I mean, if he ever plays this season, maybe the Rams would be a good team, but I don't think they slip up this week. Seattle, they played well. Geno Smith has, come back player of the year. I mean, he's doing well. He's doing what he wants to do with the other people, the other teams that had him said that he couldn't do, and that's win, and that's good. But he's not going to win this game.
Yeah, Matty Stafford, he's supposed to be coming back. Full participant in practice yesterday. He sprained his ulnar collateral ligament in week 8 in his right thumb. He didn't play the following week. They went with Brett Ripien, and they didn't like that so much. He's not even on the staff anymore. So I am going to say Seattle in this matchup because I don't see... I mean, I think the Rams are talented. I really do. I think they have talent on their team. I think they have 2 really nice running wide receivers in Puka Nacua, one of the awesome names to say in the world, and Cooper Kupp. And I think Matty Stafford's a good quarterback. But, I mean, is he 100%? I don't think he's 100%. Even if he says he's 100%, I don't know if he's fully 100%. I hope that he's 100%, but I'm going to pick Seattle in this game too. I think the Rams will make it interesting. I think they have a lot of talent. A part of me wants to pick them because Seattle's been all over the place, but Seattle, to me, has more overall talent to win this game despite being on the road. Minnesota at Denver. This might be the best Sunday night football game we've had all season. Minnesota with Josh Dobbs out here killing it. Denver has caught fire. I said last week they might be a team that's heating up. They're on fire now. Denver is no slouch. The Denver Broncos have won 3 games in a row against the Packers, Chiefs, and Bills. Against the Chiefs and Bills, there's teams that can't say they beat either one of them in multiple seasons. They beat them both back-to-back. What are your thoughts, PJ? Does Denver win this game at home against Minnesota, or does Dobbs get a dub?
No, this is a great story. Joshua Dobbs is a great, great story. I know the guy's brilliant because he's an aeronautical engineer and all that kind of stuff. But he can play football. And he's another quarterback like Geno Smith that other teams sort of dismissed and just wouldn't let him play the kind of game that he wants to play. Look at this guy's for real. I mean, he may be around, he and Geno Smith have been around for years, but he can play. And I like Joshua Dobbs in this game. And I think, frankly, he's playing almost as good as Kirk Cousins can play, which I like in this game. I like Minnesota.
PJ's going to go with Minnesota in this matchup. I'm going to go with Denver. So I'm going the other side here. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos being at home. I think Denver finds a way to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be awesome. Speaking of close and awesome, how about a rematch of last year's Super Bowl? Philadelphia at Kansas City on Monday Night Football. What a treat. Monday night's been laying some eggs for us, but we get Philadelphia at Kansas City. The last time they faced off against each other, Kansas City won the Super Bowl 38-35. What happens in this one, PJ?
Oh, this is the game of the year here. I don't care if there's other games being played later on. This is the game of the year, and I'm sure that the Football Nation will be watching it. They'll probably set records on ABC that the viewership is going to be outstanding in this game. Boy, it's a pick-em game. I mean, the only reason I'm going to stay with Kansas City is because of Kelce and Mahomes and, the way they just have it with each other. And they look at each other. And Kelce, they battled up Kelce last week or 2 weeks ago because he had an off week. He only caught a few passes for a few yards. But, Kelce has to get loose, and Holmes has to find him. And Philadelphia's got to stay close with Jalen Hurts. So this is going to be a great game. I like Kansas City mainly because they're at home. That's all.
Yeah, this game is definitely the game of the year up to this point. PJ, I look at this, and I'm looking at the backdrop of it. The cheapest ticket this week for an NFL game is Arizona at Houston. The tickets are as low as $36. Now, The ticket to the Philadelphia-Kansas City game is almost, put this into perspective, folks. It is almost 10 times the price. $36, you can go see Arizona at Houston. For $328, you can get the cheapest ticket to go to Kansas City and see Philadelphia at Kansas City. And by the way, probably the cheapest thing in Los Angeles since ever is the ticket to go see Seattle at the Rams, $56. I don't even know if you can get a cheeseburger in LA for $56. So, Kansas City, Philadelphia, this is such a difficult game for me to pick. Philly doesn't have as good of a defense this year as I think Kansas City arguably does because Philly's given up more points. Kansas City's offense hasn't been as good as Philadelphia, but Kansas City has gotten out of almost every single bind they've been in this year, outside of playing the Broncos the second time around and playing the Lions. So in my opinion, Kansas City to me is such a dangerous team because they're winning right now at a time where if you look at the way their offense has been playing, you would think they'd be losing. But then Philadelphia is so good and such a strong team. Yet, I wonder if they're going to give up the points that they've given up at certain parts this season. If they do that with Kansas City, can they hang? I'm going to pick Kansas City in this game. But Philadelphia is kind of where my heart's going in this one because I really do think that Philly, it would be nice to see Philly win and even the score, but I think Kansas City being at home, and I mean, every time I thought Kansas City, like, oh, they're going to lose this game, they're out of this game, they found a way to come back and win. The only thing I ask on Monday Night Football, and I know nobody's going to listen to me, but the only thing that I ask is please do not show Taylor Swift more than you show Pat Mahomes. Please don't. She's not on the team, so stop. You know what the funny thing is? A lot of guys have girlfriends in the stands and wives in the stands, and they never show them. But Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift for 15 minutes, and when they break up, she's going to do a whole album about him, I'm sure. We have to watch all of this. I hope Travis Kelce's okay with the fact that he might be the newest victim in a Taylor Swift album. If he's okay with that, I mean, rock on. But in the same luxury box as Taylor Swift was Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and Blake Lively, and nobody wanted to talk about that. That's insane to me. But listen, Taylor Swift's music, a lot of people like it, totally understand. She's great at talking about breakups. I just don't want to see her in an NFL game more than the NFL players. That's all that I ask for. With that being said, PJ, these are our picks. We're both going Kansas City. I appreciate you as always. I look forward to hopefully seeing you this weekend. I send you my love. And please give my best to MT, to Marissa as well. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you all very soon, including Joey and that rambunctious Garfield's older brother that I really feel like at some point was in Scarface and did cocaine, the man that they call Boom Boom. As always, PJ, I appreciate you. Thanks for everything. Take care. And coming from PJ here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. These are our picks up on your screen. Folks, once again, you can always have your opinion here on the show. And all I ask is that you respect and justify. That's it. Respect and justify. And again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, but people actually have to believe it, I guess. Or you don't. I mean, you don't have to believe it because it's the truth. So whether you believe it or not, it is the truth. I have nothing against the Big Ten. I didn't grow up disliking the Big Ten. I had no issues against Big Ten at all. Not whatsoever. They just have an unfair advantage. And it's clear. And so does Notre Dame. And that's why Notre Dame, if they're going to join a conference, should join the Big Ten because they already get the unfair advantage that the Big Ten gets. So I'm not saying Michigan's not good. And I'm not saying Ohio State's not good. I'm saying they haven't played anybody for me to sit here and go, wow, what an incredible game. What an incredible team. You beat that team? Well, you deserve to be in the top 10, let alone the top 4. They don't deserve to be there. Georgia does. Alabama arguably does. There's other teams that deserve to be there. And if James Madison is going to get scrutinized for not playing ranked teams, then why aren't you scrutinizing the Big Ten? And what do they say about the American Athletic Conference every year? well, we can't rank them high because they don't play ranked teams in their conference. Hello? The Big Ten doesn't play ranked teams in their conference either. Sometimes the only ranked team that Michigan and Ohio State play is each other at the end of the season. So what are we talking about? It's set up, the system is set up for Michigan and Ohio State and the Big Ten in general to succeed. That is what it is set up to do. If you don't see that, it's because you don't want to. I'm stating something that's there. I would say the same thing if it was the SEC. I would say the same thing if it was Clemson. I've said in the past that in the past, to me, it was set up to be Alabama, another SEC school, Clemson, and a wild card. You know, a team that changes every year. That changed a few years back when, for some odd reason, everybody got on the jock in the committee for Ohio State and Michigan. And show me how many championships Michigan has won in the college football playoff. That would be 0. Show me how many Ohio State has won. That would be 1. They won the first one many years ago. And Michigan and Ohio State have both been embarrassed in the college football playoff. So don't tell me that Cincinnati was so bad because Ohio State scored 0 points. If you could score less than 0, I guess we're having a different conversation, but they scored 0 points in a game. I don't know what we're doing here, other than me stating facts and people getting mad at facts, but facts are facts, and I would say it about any conference. I would say it about any school. I would say it about any program. There's an unfair advantage right now for the Big Ten to always succeed in the college football playoff. And if Alabama wins out and Washington wins out and Florida State wins out and they knock one of those teams out to put in Michigan and Ohio State again, there's no reason in watching the darn thing. Just have an Ohio State-Michigan national championship. Tell everybody else they don't qualify, because that's essentially what you're doing. And I don't want to see that. I want to see fair. How are you going to argue to me that Michigan is a great team when 9 out of 10 wins are against unranked teams? Well, Dan, Rutgers is better this year. They're 6-4. Well, Maryland's better this year. They're 6-4. It's one step above being 500. If Syracuse was 6-4, would they be ranked? No. If Syracuse was 10-0 against unranked teams, would they be ranked? Maybe in the top 20. Maybe 21. But they're not going to be ranked in the top 4. There's certain teams that will be ranked in the top 4 playing nobody. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama. They'll be ranked. Maybe Clemson, but they've seen them fallen out of favor. Those are the only teams that can get away with playing nobody and getting ranked high. Outside of that, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Right? Clemson just beat Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is still in the top 15, and Clemson's unranked. How stupid is that? But call a spade a spade. Call it what it is. And to suggest that it's anything different is idiotic. I wouldn't protect Syracuse. If Syracuse was 10-0 right now playing unranked teams and they were in the top 4, I would say I'm happy for my hometown team, and I also think it's unfair. I would say that. I would say good for them, but a one-loss Alabama team and an undefeated Syracuse team playing no ranked teams, I would still pick Alabama because you have to be impartial as a broadcaster. Thank you for watching and listening on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, you can hop into the archive and see them all hanging out here with us. So make sure you check them out on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, as well as iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. You can find Wake Up Call by simply searching Wake Up Call DT or Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We got a new page of incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York. We implore you to visit them all. Carvel DeWitt, where I have my own sundae, the DT Dolphin, mint chocolate chip ice cream topped off with hot fudge, whipped cream cherry, green and gold sprinkles, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, perfect for the holiday gift baskets that you're looking for on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And you can shop online at maandpaspopcorn.com. The Wildcat Sports Pub, where we will be taking the GG Cards and Breaks trade night on the road, and we'll be there tonight. We'll see you on Thursday, November 16th at 6:30 p.m. Tonight is November 16th, so we'll see you tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time at the Wildcat with GG Cards and Breaks, bringing two of my awesome partners together for one night of great food, great community connection, great sports card collecting, and great fun. Can't wait to see you there at 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Great Lakes Honda City, Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, and our newest partners, North Star Nutrition on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, and Nutrition Wave on 6197 State Route 31 in Cicero, New York. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the Wake Up Call family. And make sure you go out there today and get yourself the Mic Drop, my own drink, my healthy tea. So you can go out there and be drinking caffeine in an unhealthy way. You could be doing this energy stuff and all that stuff in an unhealthy way. Or you could support local and support your body by going to North Star Nutrition and Nutrition Wave and getting yourself the Mic Drop. Pomegranate, blueberry, blackberry, strawberry, and watermelon all mixed together in what I call the Mic Drop. And you can get that 7 days a week, including right now after the show. So run out there and get one at North Star Nutrition and the Nutrition Wave. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of the Lemoyne College Dolphins here with Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. So make sure that you check it out. And AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, a.k.a. DT, coming to you every first and third Wednesday of each month. The Dolphin Dive coming to you every second and fourth Wednesday, featuring student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. We underpromise, overdeliver, and you've gotten plenty more of these AD and DT and Dolphin Dive specials than we've promised, which come to you every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. The Dolphins can be found on our YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and clicking subscribe. And, of course, you can also hit that notification bell so you don't miss a live show. Again, you can find your Dolphins as well by going to wakeupcalldt.com. Find your Dolphins there on our website under the exclusive partners. And for more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. As always, fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are in the national tournament for men's and women's soccer. The women's team is ranked number 1 in the country. The men's team is ranked number 2 in the country. And they are both vying right now, this week, within these next couple days, for a national championship. They've already won national championships. They're looking to win another one each. And I am so excited about what's to come. The Bobcats are here with us every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as exclusive multimedia marketing partners. You can find all of our content by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And, of course, hit that notification bell. You can find them on our wakeupcalldt.com website under exclusive partners, BSC Syracuse. And for more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Go Bobcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank my incredible guests. We've gone over 3 hours today. Big time thanks to Bobby Acosta, Arkansas Pine Bluff offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, Papa Joe, the guru of baseball, football, and talking about life. We had wonderful conversations. I want to thank everybody that joined in, Greg, and everybody else that has joined in throughout the week. Thank you so much. We may agree, we may disagree, but the great thing about it is we can have our opinion in a safe environment where I respect you, I hope you respect me, and we can always have fun. Thank you to Bobby for having big conversations about life. It means the world to me. Thank you to Papa Joe for everything you mean to me on and off the air. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Go there for your gift baskets for family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues today and for the holiday season. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. I'll see you tonight at the Wildcat because we have trade night. I'm going to be eating some great food, trading, buying, selling, and trading cards, hopefully, and giving away some really awesome stuff while I broadcast live on the stage with GG Cards and Breaks. Thank you to Danny Tome, Anthony Campbell, Josh Gideon, and everybody with the Wildcat and GG Cards and Breaks. I am so excited to bring two of my wonderful partners together. I cannot wait for tonight. This is history in the making, and I hope you have a great day, and I hope I see you out there. Go and get the mic drop, and then come out and have some fun with your cards at the Wildcat starting at 6:30 tonight. As always, God bless. No stress. Do your best. I love you all. And to my G-Mama, my Gammy, my grandfathers, my adopted pop, Grandpa Bill, to Mordu, Cinnamon, and Shady, Sunny Magic, and Daredevil, I love you and I miss you all. Thank you for being my family. Rob Edson, Jay Hammerin, Dustin Rhodes, I miss you all deeply. Fred Reed. And please watch over us, pray for us, and with God, help to guide us toward a better today and tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful day. Love up your loved ones. Give them hugs. And if you got family like I do, spend some time with them. God bless you all. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.